Okay.
Welcome back to the Looks Like a Movie podcast. Today we are talking about The Brutalist, directed by Brady Corbet, as well as Presence, the new Steven Soderbergh film that is about a ghost. And with us today we have Jesse Keel and Tyler C. Whitmore. How are you guys doing?
Doing
Fantastic.
well.
There
Last
you
time I was
go.
on here, I think we talked Air and the Super Mario Bros. Movie. So it's been a
Yeah, that
minute.
was like 80 episodes.
Wow.
ago.
Yeah, it's
So
been a minute.
it's about time.
That was actually that was so long ago.
And Doug wasn't there,
Yeah, I wasn't there. No.
so Tyler's never got the full experience, and maybe he
Mhm.
never will. We'll just keep on. Let's just keep subbing him in here.
Mhm.
That's crazy. Last time I was here, we were talking about love triangles. Back for another 2 love triangle movies. So
Yeah.
super stoked. Thank you guys.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue.
You could argue.
You could say stuff. Yeah, no, it's fine. So at the beginning of every episode,
Yes.
we always talk about what we watched this last week. And we kind of run down our little letterbox diaries. Jesse, if you wanted to get us started with that.
Yeah,
Yes.
Jesse, how about you?
Yes, wait. I was preparing for this.
Okay.
Okay. What have I watched within the week? Okay, I
Mhm.
watched Sing Sing finally for the
Oh.
first time, and I thought it was great. There was an old guy that started snoring about halfway through in the theater, and I got a little freaked out for a second. And then I tapped his leg, and he woke up. And so, but it was
He was
great.
like next to you.
Like he
or
was
you
like
gotta,
right next to you. Yeah.
He was like in front of me, but his leg was like perched up almost over the thing. It was weird, so I was able to just like kind of hit his leg, and then he woke up. And I feel like if I were to have watched the movie,
I don't know how this
earlier
leg
in the
is like
day-
really working. I don't
It's
understand.
kind of hard to describe.
Can you like draw a
um,
picture?
Yeah, I'll draw a picture for you guys later.
Yeah,
and
later,
we'll
send me.
insert it. But it was really good. I feel like if I had watched it earlier and not at like 11 p.m., I probably would have cried really hard, but I was very tired. But I still really, really enjoyed it. And then I got to see Presence in a haunted house, which was super
Yeah,
cool.
how is that?
Thanks to the peeps at Neon. It was super fun. I got my aura read, and I got a cool Polaroid, and they gave us
What they say your aura was
T-shirt.
like?
the woman said that I was going through some of the hardest struggle I've gone through in my life thus far, but the
Yeah.
little green at the bottom of my aura means beautiful resources are coming your way.
And then it rained.
The color.
And then
like
it
the, like
rained.
the color green at the bottom of your aura.
Yes,
Okay. No. Sure.
It-
sure. For
it
sure.
was it yeah.
I'm always saying that as well.
They'd be
Exactly.
saying that.
No, she was very sweet. And then the movie was great. I had a really kind of weird obstructed view where I was sitting all the way in the back, and the haunted house was really like a wedding venue, and so everyone was on one stationary floor that had no like up or down, and everyone in front of me was sitting in chairs that were probably about 3 inches taller than my chair. So
Yeah,
it
but
was a
you're
little
a tall
hard.
guy. You're a tall
Yeah,
guy.
it was a little awkward though. I should probably rewatch the movie to get the good 5 inches of the bottom frame. 'Cause
Yeah,
I didn't see
yeah.
any of it the entire movie, but I thought it was great. And then I just did a little movie, 2 watches. I watched Passages, which I thought was pretty great, pretty good movie. Love a chaotic bisexual French guy. And then I watched The Five Devils, which I thought was a really great low-key sci-fi French film as well. And that's all I watched this week. I'm reading right now, so not watching as
Oh,
much.
what are you reading?
Yeah. What are you reading?
Never Let Me Go.
Oh my god. I talked about that book 2 episodes ago. I love that book.
You did?
Yeah.
Yes. I love that book so far.
No, that book's great. Yeah. Crazy. Okay, I'll say what I watched. I watched. I didn't watch a lot. I watched the Young Mr. Lincoln, the John Ford picture, and I have the book right here. And I also read about Young Mr. Lincoln. Oh my god.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we're a John Ford
Shout-
podcast. And then, that movie's very good. For it's like okay. So watching that movie, I was a little stunned by how really good that movie looks. I was reminded Richard
It's great.
Brody tweeted about how he really disliked the Richard Brody, the film critic, tweeted about how he
Yeah.
really disliked the best picture the Oscar nominations for best cinematography. And he
This year.
said he mentioned this idea of most cinematography, right, which gets talked about sometimes. And while watching Young Mr. Lincoln, I was like, this is such a great example of like really kind of incredible like cinematography without being like the most cinematography. It's
Yeah.
actually like utilitarian and intelligent. So yeah, I watched Young Mr. Lincoln, and then I watched Presence, which is a movie we're going to talk about, and then I watched. I went to a midnight screening of Jennifer's Body, which I hadn't
Nice.
seen in years. And I forgot literally all about that movie. Like I forgot literally every single plot detail. But um, that movie's so funny. That's like the funniest movie ever made, dude. Oh, I forgot how funny that movie was, and I forgot about like literally all of it, like the whole framing device and literally what happens in the movie is really good. Is really good. Roger Ebert, Roger Ebert said that Jennifer's Body was Twilight for boys in his review for the movie.
What?
It's crazy how wrong people are about stuff when it comes
Yeah,
out.
that's a really interesting.
Like that is
quote.
not.
It's like completely missed on that demographic. I don't.
Yeah. Tyler Whitmore, what did you watch this week?
Yeah, I'll do like an abbreviated. I'll just kind of like pop in and out of my watch list or my diary, I guess. So I watched JFK for one of our Patreon exclusive episodes, but we had to end up pushing it because I was the only one who watched the 3.5 hour movie and no one else
Oh my God.
sat down and dedicated the time. So we're gonna do that in a future week. But first time watching it, Kevin Costner's just so good, man. We need a Oliver Stone to make a movie about the conspiracy of Horizon Chapter 2 not being released because I think that's what we all want to see this year. Rewatched The Real Pain. I liked it more than I did the first time. I kind of really didn't like it at all the first time I watched it, but on rewatch, liked him. I think Kieran Culkin and Jesse Eisenberg are just a lot, and having them in the same movie, when I was watching, it was just kind of an abrasive experience. But I think knowing what I was getting into the second time, appreciate it more. I still hate the score in that movie. Like anytime I wanted to sit with the moment, that loud ass piano just comes on every single time. But still, it's a fine movie. Death Note. And I think you like Death Note, right?
Yeah, no, that's my favorite movie to watch on Netflix.
I like it. I'd seen it before years and years and years ago, but I don't know. Like this is such a hated movie, and I think Doug, you said that it was just a fan base thing, which I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
But I've seen the series, I've read the series, I have it right over there on my bookshelf, so it's not like this is my only experience with Death Note. But I mean, Adam Wingard knows how to make movies. I'm a big fan of The Guest. I'm a big proponent of that movie, and David Tattersall, like he can shoot film.
Oh yeah.
So it's just watching it, knowing it's a Netflix original from 2017. It's like this looks so infinitely better than anything Netflix puts up. I mean, other than when they have actual auteurs, like when they work with like Bradley Cooper or something. But compared to like whatever, what's the one I watched the other day? Back in Action, Cameron Diaz is in term. Like,
talk about Netflix
like
movies.
But I mean, Back in Action has a higher letter.
No, I'm sure it does because
so
there's less like fucking vitriol and anger towards that movie. It's just like, oh, it's bad. Where this movie's like seen as like a disgrace to a fan base.
I mean, the cast is loaded too. You got Willem Dafoe, Margaret Qualley. It's basically a Yorgos Lanthimos picture before Yorgos Lanthimos scooped them all up.
Yeah, look, Yorgos saw Death Note and it was like, hold up, wait a minute.
Willem Dafoe plays Ryuk, right?
Yeah, he plays the voice, and then they have a different actor play the actual guy in the suit. So they, crazy. But yeah, good stuff. And then I'll pick one other one. I guess I watched Better Man and Wolf Man in a double feature in theaters on Friday.
Little man,
that's fire.
Yeah, one of them I liked a lot more than the other. Better Man, I kind of wanted to go in with hater energy, but it is a good movie. I had a good time with Better Man, but I'm so tired of the gaslighting on Twitter of people calling like Americans so stupid and ignorant when like I pulled up box office numbers on the Real Talk podcast this week, and I was like pulling up. So I saw that Robbie Williams matched the Beatles with #1 charting albums in the UK. So now I was comparing yesterday's box office in the UK to Better Man. And I was like, yesterday, a fake Beatles movie is making like 5 times as much money in the UK than Better Man. So stop blaming Americans for the movie not making money. No one in that country is going to see it. But rant is over. Better Man's a fun movie. I didn't want to like it, but I did.
The thing about Robbie Williams that I think is interesting is that it's like he's like an icon for sure, but he's not like an icon in the way that somebody like Prince, right,
Mhm.
or whatever here, or even Bob Dylan, right, is because Bob Dylan's so old now. Like Robbie Williams is like in his early 50s. He's like not that old.
Hmm.
He was famous like 20 years ago.
Yeah,
He's
I
just a
mean, his
guy that like
soundtrack
used to be
apparently is like
really
number one on
famous.
the charts right now in the
Yeah,
UK. Like the soundtrack for the movie is, but no one's seen the movie itself.
yeah. Apparently, it's his 15th #1 album, and I'm like, how are you not a global superstar with like? I mean, apparently he is, but it's like no one's ever, no one's ever heard of him.
Hmm.
So
His music's bad. I think that's part of it too. Um,
a
that's
product
like
of its time.
no, that's the only reason I haven't seen Better Man is because that people keep playing that clip, that one clip that people are going like acting like are pretending like is like a really fucking incredible way to sell the
The
movie, and I'm
Rock
like,
DJ clip.
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
like this sucks. Like every time I see the
No,
clip, I'm
yeah.
like,
Well,
this fucking
the reason
sucks.
why I haven't seen it is because Rock DJ's been in my head, like stuck in my head, and I've only seen that clip. And I'm like, I can't watch this whole movie. It's gonna like take over my brain.
The amount of times that clip's been posted on Twitter, it's like the first 30 seconds of the Rock DJ sequence, the first 45 seconds of the Rock DJ sequence, the whole, it's like, stop. I swear every day they release a new amount of footage from it.
thank God they released the full thing though, so people have a little bit more to work with. My friend, when I took her to go see it, said it was the only good part of the movie. So,
That's
Jeez.
crazy.
which is wrong, but you know, it's fine.
Okay, Owen, what did you watch?
Oh yeah. Okay. So last week, I watched um Inland Empire, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch maybe another David Lynch movie or two. So I watched The Straight Story, and I really, really loved that. That movie is so sweet. Um, I really loved that. Then I watched the Jonathan Demme movie, Who Am I This Time? Now I've been kind of like pushing that heavily because it's so sweet. It's another really sweet movie. Um, Christopher Walken is like one of my favorite actors. He's so fun, and they're performing a Streetcar Named Desire in the film, and his character gets kind of like devoured in the role, and so you have Christopher Walken like throwing chairs around and screaming and stuff and like ripping his shirt off, and it's just really fun. Um, and then obviously with Presence, I then was like, oh, I should watch Sex Lives and Videotape because I've been kind of pushing that off for a while, and I was like, oh, this is one I definitely have to see sooner than later. Um, and I always knew it was like his early, like one of his early films, but I didn't realize that he was 126 feature length debut and it won the Palm, which is like insane to think about. And even like recently when we're talking about like Sean Baker being like this guy who's like, oh, he feels like a young American guy to win the Palm. It's like the thing about Soderbergh being 26. Like if that happened today, I feel like it would be like it would be the biggest story ever because it's so. I mean, it's crazy to even think about that being a thing. But yes, I Lives and Videotape was really great. Young James Spader is like really incredible. Really, yeah, awesome movie. And then I was kind of in that uh indie period in that like 80s kind of late 80s indie period. So same year, The Unbelievable Truth, Hal Hartley came out. And that was his debut. So two kind of very important indie directors in that like early 90s, late 80s period had their debuts. So I watched that as well. Kind of really kind of focusing on these like lower budget dialogue heavy films. And I really, really liked that. Hadn't seen any Hal Hartley films, but I've been aware of him. Definitely a different kind of filmmaker in terms of like the commercial eye. He kind of sticked in that indie sphere his whole career, where some like Soderbergh has a really interesting career, and we'll talk about that when we get to Presence. But like his ability to make so many different kinds of movies. Soderbergh is kind of like a chameleon in this way of like he can make this indie movie, but then he can also make like this big budget movie with like 10 of the biggest names in Hollywood, right? And it's like they're both great, but they're very different movies. And Hal Hartley is an interesting kind of contemporary and peer of Soderbergh because they both came up doing kind of similar things, and then one stuck and did that same thing for the whole career, and the other one can kind of do all these things, and that's kind of maybe why Soderbergh's a bigger name because of that. But they're both incredible filmmakers, and I watched Trust as well, which was Hal Hartley's second film. I'm kind of gonna go in order there, but that was also great. Adrienne Shelley, like kind of incredible. That her performance in Unbelievable Truth is like one of the best performances I've seen in a while. I don't know, really talented actress. But yeah, that was kind of my week there. But yeah, interesting kind of comparison piece with Hartley and Soderbergh.
So I think that we are going to talk about The Brutalist now, which because I think most people have probably seen it, right? So me and Owen saw The Brutalist in September of 2024.
Yeah, which is weird that this is now. It's like it feels weird to do an episode now on it. But we also both rewatched the movie recently.
Yeah.
So it is like in our brains a little more. It would be very difficult, I think, to do an episode on it if we hadn't rewatched the film. When did you guys first see The Brutalist?
I saw it in November.
Okay, so yeah.
Initially, but then I saw it in December once it officially released back in LA, and then I think I saw it for a third time maybe 2 weeks ago. So I mean,
so
I've maxed out my Brutalist watches in general and
Mhm.
seen them in all types of different format, but I'm good.
Oh yeah, because I saw it. We saw it 35 in New York, but then I got to see it on 70 again, which was cool.
It kind of looks so good on 70.
That's crazy. I saw it on DCP the second time.
Yeah, I saw it 2.5 weeks ago. I was gonna rewatch. Well, we're doing our Brutalist episode next week, so I was gonna rewatch it this week for that. But then last minute, Owen was like, "You want?"
Yeah, I was like, "Wait a minute."
But still, 2.5 weeks ago. It's enough.
No,
I have enough in the brain.
There's some shocking things that happen in the second part of the film, right? That they come out of nowhere. The way that it's presented comes out of nowhere, I should say. I don't think that thematically it's like super out of place though. Thematically it might be a little bit too on the nose even.
Are we starting and diving in with
all
the way like 2.5
crazy entry point
hours into it, I guess?
No, we don't have to.
Well, I think it is interesting because especially I remember going to see it in New York, and we had like no idea what the fuck the movie was about. And
I remember
Doug was I think Doug said like, yeah, it's about the Holocaust. Like before we got to see the movie, and that's like all I knew about the movie was Doug told me it was about the Holocaust. And then we go sit down and we watch this movie, and it's unraveling, and you're learning everything as it's being presented to you, and then seeing it again was, I think, an interesting experience. And not to say that I think less of it, but I was less like, oh wow, this is insane, because of like, I had an idea of everything was gonna unfold. But I think it's an interesting movie where I'm like, I think it's good. I think it's very good, but also like I am conflicted about it in a way as it ages with me. Which I don't know. Especially with there's so much going on in the movie. There's a lot of components to it. And it's tough to even like where we would start with it. I don't know. I'm interested in what you guys feel about Brady as a filmmaker, because I don't know. I don't think has anyone seen Vox Lux? Has anyone seen his other work? Because this is the only film I've seen from him. So it's like, it's weird to even think about him as a filmmaker when I've only kind of had a relationship with one of his pieces.
I'm a huge fan of Brady. Vox Lux is one of my favorite movies ever.
Okay.
And I recently, after seeing The Brutalist, watched Childhood of a Leader, which I think is a great, as much as The Brutalist is long enough, Childhood of a Leader and Brutalist can really kind of be a double bill in terms of like time period. Because that movie is about the childhood of like a would-be dictator.
Okay.
So around the same time period. But I love Brady as a filmmaker. I think he's so interesting because him as a performer in his young age, like he was 17 in Funny Games. And I'm pretty sure he was like maybe 20, 21 in Mysterious Skin. I'm not sure which one came out or whatever it was. But he's really so young in both of them. and I mean, at least I think a lot of us consider, when we think of him as a performer, we look at Mysterious Skin more than any other movie, because he really is like, that is like, I think, his kind of magnum opus performance from his acting days. And I've always kind of been really in awe of him as a performer. And I truly think even if he were to step back into that later, now, whenever, he could still bring some great, a great performance to whatever film he decides to go back into acting for, if he ever does. But I remember when I watched Vox Lux, I didn't know he directed it. And when I saw a picture of him, I also didn't know it was him, because he looks
Yeah,
very
yeah,
different now.
Yeah.
I was but I remember being like truly shocked that the guy from Mysterious Skin made that movie, because I was like, wow, what the hell? And I watched Vox Lux, I don't even know, years and years and years ago, maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that. I think
yeah.
around COVID. And I had seen that title, The Brutalist, under his name for years. And I remember at one point, it always had Adrian Brody attached to it. But I remember at one point, Marion Cotillard was under him. I'm pretty sure she was probably attached as Felicity's
Yeah.
character at one point. But I just remember for years and years, I was like, when is this guy going to make another movie? Like, I want to see, what is The Brutalist? Like, that,
Yeah.
I like that name. And then finally seeing it, I mean, I feel like this movie also kind of popped out of nowhere. Like, it felt like
It
felt
picked up
like there was
steam
no,
quick. I mean, it
yeah.
wasn't nowhere maybe, but
I
not.
don't know
But
about
like,
nowhere. I mean, like we have.
there was
because,
rumblings for a while.
well, yeah, because me and Owen had these plans to go to New York Film Festival for so long that we were like, that we were kind of like more aware of all of the movies that were kind of like in
Yeah.
conversation to play at these festivals. And like, so like, okay, I have also seen Vox Lux.
Yes.
I don't like that movie. I think it's a really edgy movie. The cold open for Vox Lux is a spoiler alert. The cold open, the first scene of the movie is just like is a school shooting, and I'm like, all right, it's a little
Yeah.
much. Um, I think it's a very edgy movie. So like yeah, so like I knew about The Brutalist, and I was like, I'm not even gonna go watch this movie. I was like,
Yeah,
I'm not even
Doug was
gonna
like,
see
"You guys
this
can
movie.
go see the Brutals. I'm gonna see some other shit because I don't really give a fuck."
No, like yeah, literally that was my plan when we were going to New York Film Festival. And then it kind of, as we got closer to it, it kind of became like, oh, this
Like
is
the
like
movie to see.
the movie, yeah, this is the movie to see, which I didn't think was going to happen. Well, I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to predict stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like predicting the Oscars before the Oscars happen, except you're predicting movies that don't have posters or trailers.
Yeah.
It's, uh, but yeah, so I wasn't excited for The Brutalist, and then I watched it, and I was like, oh yeah, it's pretty good. Um, it's it's pretty
He like
good.
accepted defeat.
Has he
Yeah,
matured as a filmmaker for you, Doug?
honestly, probably not. Uh, no,
Interesting.
no. So, I think like I don't think that The Brutalist is like a super smart movie.
Okay.
Yeah, Tyler, how did you approach this movie? How did you first see it? Did you see had you seen Vox Lux?
I have not. So every week I have like a spreadsheet of like my whole to-do list of to do for the week, and I usually throw some movies on there because I don't know why I don't use my Letterboxd watch list. I have like a separate watch list, and Vox Lux has been on there for weeks now, but I've just never turned it on, so I haven't seen it. Obviously, going into this, I'm in Phoenix. I didn't go to any of the film festivals, so by the
Yeah.
time I got around to seeing it, it was obviously hyped up a ton from the
Yeah.
November festival releases, and I don't know. I was excited going into it, and it's a movie that when I watched it, I was like, "Yeah, this feels like the poster says, monumental." And during the intermission, I was like, "Yeah, there's buzz here. This is something really great." And I came away really liking the movie, so I guess I was setting that up to be like I'm walked out of it and didn't think so. I gave it a 4.5. But I guess I thought when I immediately left the theater, which the one I have to go to for it was like an hour and a half away. So I usually really like going to movies there up in Scottsdale because the drive is a drive home, especially for a movie like this. You just get to sit for like 90 minutes and digest what you just watched, because this is a lot of movie. And I just felt like this was going to stick with me more than it did. So I am, like you guys alluded to, I'm really excited to rewatch it this week before we record our podcast on it, to see how things have changed over the past 3 weeks, because I haven't been thinking about it as much as I guess I would have thought I did during the intermission and during the immediate time the credits rolled. I was like, oh, this is gonna be like the movie to talk about for a while. So going into it, I was very unfamiliar with Brady Corbet. Like I said, I didn't watch Vox Lux. I've seen, I mean, the campaign trail, I guess you can call it, for these awards. I don't know. The interviews have been interesting. I think he's gotten a lot of overexposure, and I'm not in the camp of people that really dislike what he has to say or think he's annoying or hate him or anything. I'm not there, but I know the more interviews that come out of him, the more I see people start to sour on Brady Corbet as just like a person and a director. I'm not there.
He's bringing a very like dude bro, like I just love making movies, like everything's so beautiful energy to the campaign that I think is rubbing people the wrong way. So a little bit,
it's earnest, but in a way that isn't it's different than just a normal sincere earnest filmmaker. It's like you said, like a dude bro way, which again I can see it souring other people. I'm not there. I thought it was great. I mean, the performances are varying levels of great, but I really came away really loving Guy Pearce. This Joe Alwyn was kind of like the big home run for me. I was
Joe
like,
Alwyn.
holy shit, Joe Alwyn he's that guy.
He's the GOAT.
Low key kind of, I mean, I haven't seen all of his movies, but he's kind of like becoming typecast as a very interesting type of role to be typecast as, just like a horrible, vicious human being. So it's kind of wild to be typecast as for Joe Alwyn, the guy who's kind of just known to be like the soft, kind of quaint guy. But I mean,
if you ask a lot of people, they'll say he's evil, ambitious.
Right. I was gonna say, I think if you ask Swifties, it might be different. But no, he was great in this. Felicity Jones, I see a lot of people hating on her performance. I'm not there. I'm not in the loving camp either, though. I think she's completely fine. She gets kind of her moment to get a home run swing at the end, which I feel like any competent actor, if you set the ball on the tee for them there, they're going to be able to hit the ball for at least a double or triple there. I thought she was okay. But Guy Pearce and Joe Alwyn were like the guys for me. Adrian Brody is great, but when I go in an Adrian Brody film, I'm expecting that level of greatness. But you know, in terms of film, a lot of film, I thought it was living up to the billing. I think the score, especially with the Oscar nominees for score, it should be like far and away a home run to win, hopefully, because I mean, comparing this to like the Wicked score, like what are we doing here?
So the Wicked score, I'm so annoyed because like the category is called Best Original Score.
I know we debate if Hans Zimmer was eliminated for not being original for Dune Part 2. How is Wicked score original when it's literally a musical that they're just putting like whatever? We're getting sidetracked. But the Brutalist score, awesome. Performance is great. Brady Corbet, I'm excited to watch Vox Lux, especially now here, and just the massive differentiation of opinions from you two on the movie. Thanks for getting me prepared for what I'm going to see in the first scene.
It's good preparation.
The opening title sequence where you're like following that vehicle, and then like the like horizontal credits come and that score comes in. It's like, oh, okay, that started playing. I was like, okay, we're in for a real movie. And we was at New York, and this like old guy next to me just left. He got up and left. I don't know what the heck was going on. But I really do. I think the score is really great. I will agree on that.
Compared to the trailer, though, I expected the score to be a lot more score forward, like a Conclave, where it's like the score's overpowering, but it's actually used in like a nice, subtle way. But because the trailer leads you to believe it's going to be like this score is like a powerful, like Ludwig Göransson style score, where it's like that's going to be the thing in the movie.
I'm so happy it's not like that. I'm so happy it's not like that.
Yeah,
I just didn't.
I think it's used pretty well.
I think Daniel Blumberg is such an interesting composer. Because I remember really, like, obviously, as many people were, very locked in on like Challengers is the best score that came out this year. And I remember, Doug, you told me, you were like, yeah, you haven't seen The Brutalist yet. And I was like, okay. And I really didn't think anything would shift my perspective. But I truly, the first time I watched The Brutalist, obviously got to see it early. It was at 12. I'd gotten no sleep the night before. I was waiting in line for like 2 hours, had no food, and was running off about 2 cigarettes and water. And I was like really dazed the whole movie. But I just started like, I remember just getting not only from that like opening oneer of Brody getting out of the ship, I think it is, like the boat or whatever it is, but again, like you said, Owen, when that score hits in the road in the
Ba,
title
ba,
card,
ba,
I
ba.
remember
Yeah.
literally just full body chills, like tears welling in my eyes, and I looked at my friend and was like, "You're fucking kidding me." I was like, "This is
That is a
insane."
scene that is very aware. That's a scene that is
Yep.
intentionally trying to seem great. Like great as in like large and yeah, it is
Yeah.
in conversation with itself as like being like a great big American novel, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of what I get out of that scene.
Yeah.
I think the score accompanies it so beautifully though. Like that first piece of music, technically, the what is it, overture bus, those three pieces of music that almost just seemingly go into each other until we get to the opening title. That, I think Bloomberg's score can be dissected so well, and I think it is such an impressive score for it's only his second uh piece he's ever done for a film. The first one was for one of Mona's movies. And just that piece of music, it kind of has the rhythm of like a train, and it almost has very much the rhythm of like, this is the beginning of a journey. And I just think it's a total home run for like a 36-year-old musician too. Like, it's just like, wow,
Yeah.
this guy really has the sauce. And I think later down the line, obviously this movie's getting so much buzz, and his score is getting a lot of buzz. I really think we could consider Daniel Bloomberg a very notable composer in the next coming years, depending on what projects he decides to pick up. I really do.
Could be back-to-back years of Oscar winners under 40 for a composer, which I feel like is not typical for that at all. The John Williams days are gone.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, those guys are getting really old.
John Williams isn't John Williams literally 100 years old?
Shout out John Williams.
Yeah.
No, yeah, he's the GOAT. Much better than people in the GOAT conversation, right?
Yeah.
John Williams, I think, is definitely way ahead of everybody else, and in that, and when no, I love John Williams.
It's such a
I'm
hard
also
film
a
to
Hans
like
Zimmer hater,
dissect.
though.
Yeah, we know. I know. But this is such a hard film to like dissect though, because it's like, where do you even dive into this? I guess one thing is like, are you guys pro or anti intermission?
I'm pro intermission because I got to like chit chat. I like to chat.
Yeah, no.
I like to chit chat.
Well, it was fun because Doug, me and Doug thought we had like, I think it was like we both had like C or something, or like 3, and
Yeah.
then or like, oh, we're gonna sit next to each other, and then Doug was 3 on like the balcony, like at the back.
Oh,
So I was like 3rd row, and then Doug was like in the back of the joint, and then the intermission happened, and there was like no one next to me, so I just texted Doug like, come down here. So then I got to watch it with Doug. We could talk about it. We were like, oh yeah, this is fucking like a real ass movie, like in the middle of it. We're like, oh yeah, this is really good. And then we got to watch the so yeah, I think it's cool. I think it makes sense for this movie. Like, I don't think intermission is needed for everything, but I think it works well, and this movie is split, I think, in a way that like works for me. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
an important part of intermission, an important part of our dialogue with intermissions in films is that you can't just stick them in. So like, people, when Killers of the Flower Moon came out, people were saying like, oh, they should just like, movie theaters should just like put in an intermission, right? And it's like, that's not how movies work. It's not, the movie has to be designed around it. Like, there's a really clear split in acts here for the Brutalist that is like really stark.
Yeah.
And like, so it like works really well. A lot of long movies are not like that. Long as in like 3-hour movies, right? Like,
Yeah.
imagine trying to put an intermission in Oppenheimer. One, that movie's not that long, so it would be kind of silly to do that. But like, it's like it would just completely annihilate the tempo of the film if you were like, okay, now go get popcorn for 10 minutes.
I mean, it's nice to be able to stretch your legs and go pee or whatever. I mean, I work at a movie theater, currently still showing The Brutalist in 70, and it's really cool to see all these people very, especially around the discourse around the second half of this movie, making or breaking it. I love seeing the smiling faces before entering the theater for the second half, because
Yeah.
all these people are like, wow, I mean, this might just be one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. And then I see them on the way out and they're just livid about it. And I think it's nice though. I mean, for this movie specifically, I think in a lot of ways I would like to watch this movie without an intermission. Like, see how it would feel if we just go right from that incredibly high last voiceover of Felicity to just immediately seeing her on screen, because in a lot of ways, thematically, of course, the intermission to some extent feels more like a thematic choice than it does a, oh, this movie really is too long for the audience. Because without the intermission, it's like, with credits too, it's like, what, 3 hours and 15 minutes? It's not a big deal. Like, it's really,
It's
people
not
can
that long.
sit
The
through that
movie's not
whole
that long.
movie.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
that long at all. And I think, it's an easy movie to get through, but for thematic reasons, that intermission does make you feel, to a certain extent, like, once you sit back and you immediately go to the train station, for some reason that 15 minutes of time stepping outside, whatever you're doing, it does feel like that longing feels just a little bit more extended for her to get there. Because I feel like if it were to jump right into it, as much as it'd be interesting to see how that goes, there's something about the intermission, again, thematically, that feels good for that moment to come back to part two. So I'm pro intermission for The Brutalist.
Yeah.
I don't know about any other movie though.
Yeah, no, for sure. Absolutely. I think that's a good point. Where the movie, well, the movie has the first part of the film has like this montage sequence, and like this like really like that like really swells throughout into the intermission, and then so it's like, oh, we're getting excited, and it's like it's bro, the first part of the movie's so crazy, but it's like we're getting excited, and it's like emotions are kind of swelling, and then the intermission hits, and then it feels like you could just like levitate out of the movie theater, and it feels insane, and then it eases you in so well with this going to the train station, and it because it feels like the beginning of a new movie. It feels like the first, it's like the beginning of the movie we just saw, but like a more tender version of it, a less intense version of Adrian Brody coming to America. Is him seeing Felicity Jones. What's her character's name?
Elizabeth.
Yeah, there's a bit.
Of course. So seeing Felicity Jones come to meeting her at the train station, it's very tender. Um,
I'm not ashamed to say this, and I know I've had private conversations with people who have said the same sentiment. Maybe people are too cowardly to say it out loud. I don't know, but I totally thought Laszlo Toth was a real person, and I left the theater googling what happened to Guy Pearce. I'm like, oh, I wonder what happened to him in real life. And I've had private conversations with
Lydia
others.
Tard.
Yeah, exactly. Other people are on the same boat, but I think no one wants to come on and say it publicly. So I was like, oh, I wonder what happened to Guy Pearce's person in real life. Like, these obviously real people. Like, I wasn't looking it up as like
Yeah.
ending explain type thing. It was more like a what happened to this real person than the movie.
You were trying to find his Wikipedia page, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that this was like the brutalist, the guy
hell
who brought
happened to Van
brutalism
Buren?
to. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
but
That's funny.
Well, because especially with the epilogue too, it kind of like makes it epilogue really makes it feel
Yeah.
like this was a real.
Well, it's this kind of like these movies that are kind of like they're like biopics about not real people, if you want to call them that. I don't know. Well, I definitely like for like maybe like a second or two when watching it, I was like because I did nothing and knew nothing about the movie. I was like, is this about someone real? But then I was the more I went on, I was like, I'm not sure about that. I think about the performances in this movie, and we kind of mentioned it before. Of like Adrian Brody, he's really good, but like there's some people else that I'm like more interested in, and I think watching a second time, I was like the most invested I am is when Adrian Brody is confronted with like these other big characters. I'm not really too interested on like him on his own, but like when he meets he comes and I love the American, oh, he's not American cousin, but he's the cousin that lives in America. I think that's a great guy, and they work off so well with each other. And then you kind of lose him, and they like there's kind of like a lull period in between that, and then it's like you get Guy Pearce, and now Guy Pearce is this big kind of character, this big energy, and they work off so well. And then Joe Alwyn as well. I think the performances for me really work when you have that kind of contrast, lesser than when like Brody is with someone that's like maybe a little softer. There's less, but there's just so much kind of like magic on the screen when there's that like kind of almost butting heads, even when they're kind of calmer. There's that really great scene with Guy Pearson, Adrian Brody, just like sitting down and talking over like over drinks, and then they're sitting at that like the diner or whatever. They're great kind of like softer moments with them, but they're so different in their kind of personalities that those are like the highlight moments for the performances, really. Where sometimes it seems to me like I'm less interested when those uh kind of personality clashes aren't on the screen. But that's why like Guy Pearce for me is like the highlight, because he is so big. The movie is so big, and he's so big that it's like those kind of go really well. I also just when Adrian Brody crashes out, that's fun too. He gets whenever he gets like upset, it's like, oh, this is just like that's that Oscar video type moment when he's just like flipping
Yeah.
shit. Those really
They
fun.
do not want us here.
I described I also think that Guy Pearce is the best performance in this movie, or like the standout, like like the guy that like when I left the theater I'm thinking about like what he accomplished as an actor in the film. I describe his performance in this movie as what if Daniel Plainview was like a real guy, because in There'll Be Blood, Daniel Plainview is like he's like a kind of like so exaggerated.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, Guy Pearce is kind of playing like that guy, but if he was like not a cartoon character and was kind of real.
So
Because
Doug's entering right into the Brady Corbet PTA debate now here.
oh, is it a debate? No, I
Well,
mean
not
he's
debate,
like,
but people are like, "Oh, this is a PTA impersonation."
it is. That's not a bad thing.
Oh, you are okay.
No, I mean
I
Star
didn't
Wars.
see that, but I've only seen it once. I didn't get that.
I feel like if you watch
It's a
Brady's
PTA
other movies, it
impressive.
doesn't feel that much like a PTA. I don't know.
It's
Feels
a
like a
PTA movie
gradual
in the
thing.
same way that Star Wars is an Akira Kurosawa movie, but you're not going to watch Star Wars and be like, you know what, this feels a lot like Hidden Fortress. You know, it's like, but you know,
No,
it's
there's
there.
obvious
Like,
influences.
yeah,
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I think we brought it up a little bit, but I think the fact that Brady is 36 years old is really interesting. And I think like we talked about him like this dude bro filmmaker. It's like I don't like love everything that he said, and I'm like not even like super like head over heels with this movie, but I think he's interesting, and I like that we have him as like this like character now. Like I think that he has kind of become a part of like the popular sphere of directors, at least in this moment for this like Oscars. I think he's an interesting director to have because he's just different than everyone else that is like talking right now. Like there's just like we have this kind of gap of like the kind of
yes.
personalities in directors, and I think he is emerging as someone that like that is of that age that isn't just we just don't have really anyone. So I think even though like I'm not like totally 100% with him, I think he is interesting, and I think that I'm excited to kind of see where this goes because he is so young. 36 is so young for a director, and I think he has some like he's talented enough to where I'm interested. Like using VistaVision is like I mean it's a bold decision. I think I mean stuff like that like it's like cool. I think we needed someone in the space like that.
Do any of you even know what Edward Berger looks like off the top of your
Fuck
head?
no.
This is what I mean. It's
Fuck
like,
Edward Berger.
yeah, well, yeah, of course. Like that goes without saying. But but like it's like
He's
so
bald.
is he?
Oh,
Is he actually?
Yeah, isn't he like just a bald guy with glasses? Like he looks
I
like
have
the
no
most.
idea.
That's ringing a bell, actually. Yeah.
what
Yeah,
is
he's like
what is he
bald with
like?
glasses, and he's like
Edward.
makes movies that have either just bad scores or the same score over and over again,
What's
and then they
that?
get nominated for Academy Awards, and then they beat Babylon.
Right,
Sorry.
but what I mean is like he's the Edward Berger who is he's
Yep.
the, oh Jesus Christ. He's like not he's another big guy that is going to be
Edward Berger
around
is
for a while.
54 years old,
He's going to be around for a while though. He's going to make 10 movies that are
Sure.
going to be nominated for Best Picture.
and I'll never see a single one of them.
but like he's not he's not like he's not an iconic filmmaker. I don't think he will ever be an iconic filmmaker. Brady Corbet already is. You can't go on Twitter without seeing his fat fucking face like like everywhere. No, you know what I mean? It's like ingrained in your mind. And people are like talking about how fat his face is and how he looks
It's a
on red
topic.
carpets.
It's a
And,
topic
no,
of
I'm serious. I'm
discussion.
serious.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no one's talking about how
No.
bald Edward Berger is. So, yeah, you're right.
Literally,
true.
nobody's talking about how bald that
No,
burger is.
That's such a good point. I literally saw a tweet of some girl saying like, boyfriend asked if I wanted to see the 4-hour fucking stupid American movie made by that fat hamster Brady Corbet. Yeah, I think not. I'm like, why is everyone like mad that he went from like super attractive early 2000s actor to like I'm a filmmaker now and I'm
He's eating
eating?
good.
It's
He lives with his wife
it's an
and eats
Orson
cake all day,
Welles
bro.
cosplay. He wants to
Yeah.
be like Orson Welles. He's fucking.
I think the Oscars are going to be a very interesting pivot point for him, though, because if this movie does go on to win Best Picture and he wins Best Director, as odds makers would say is likely to happen, where does he go from here? I feel like it's just for any director, not just Brady Corbet. That's just such an interesting when you're not that well known prior to the movie and you don't have that deep of filmography, and then you get showered with awards from the industry.
Yeah.
The next step will be interesting to see.
It's obviously the next Lion King movie for Brady. He's gonna take that mantle.
I mean, he already
know.
has his
Yeah.
next project lined up, but I
Yeah.
wonder if it'll be. I mean, I think it's without saying the Brutalist will walk away with something at the Academy Awards. Like,
Sure.
I just don't think
We'll come back to
it's-
this.
Yeah.
People are saying
Yeah.
it's Power of the Dog of
That.
2025, so we'll see.
That
Oh,
would be
no,
that would be so sad. I've been
no.
hearing that too. But I think if anything,
That would be
because
fucked
Brady
up.
already has, he's got Ann Lee, that musical. I know he's not directing that, but he wrote that. Mona's new movie should be coming out this year, with Zoe
Is
Kravitz
that
and
this year?
Thomasin McKenzie. Should be. He said they shot it last year, so hopefully. And
Yeah.
then he has that. He said he has that 70s horror
Texas
western.
Chainsaw Massacre, which I'm
but-
excited for that. I think that might be more up my alley.
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting because I think there are some scenes in The Brutalist that really show he could make a really scary movie if he leaned into it entirely. I think there are scenes in The Brutalist that are plucked out of horrific, not only are there horrific things happening, but the way he shoots them is very scary. Leaves a pit in your stomach.
A lot of the Brutalist is in conversation with horrible things, not even if it's not necessarily showing horrible things. Like, I mean, you have that scene in the second act, like that is like showing something horrible, but like it's kind of entirely playing with this conversation of like things horrible are happening off screen, and we're like kind of all like kind of existing in conversation with all these things that are happening in another place that we're kind of escaped from. And even like because you never see Felicity Jones and that whole first act, and you're getting these letters, and you're kind of he's always kind of wondering, like kind of fearful of like what is happening to her. So the movie's in conversation with these kind of horrors, even if it's not showing it. So I think he definitely could branch off into something like that really easily, and that is interesting. I was thinking about that before we hopped on. I was like thinking about what we would talk about, and I am interested, especially when we're talking about him being so young, and this movie being delivered under $10 million or whatever, and that conversation of like because he we talk about PTA and stuff like that, and thinking about these other filmmakers who make these big movies, and it'll be interesting to see because he's now like this kind of he's going to be seen as like an Oscar person, especially like Adrian Brody wins Best Actor or something. Actors love that shit. Actors would work with far worse filmmakers for the opportunity to win an Oscar. So he gets an Oscar, even Oscar nominations. That to be honest, that's something that actors look at and they're like, oh, that'd be interesting. I'd like to work with that guy.
Yeah.
So I'm this movie has Adrian Brody, Guy like has great actors in it. So I am no doubt that he will be able to work with pretty much anybody he wants to. And with this movie being so successful at 10 million, you can only suggest that if he wanted to work with more money, he would be able to. So honestly, it feels like for him, coming vaguely out of nowhere, I mean, blowing up this year in terms of like this stuff, it seems like the sky's the limit. To be honest, I think he could be, just the biggest director of his age group easily.
100%.
I just
I think he'll be
I very
handed
much
more opportunity financially. I think even
yeah.
if he doesn't, let's say they don't walk away with anything, it doesn't even matter at this point. I think the Brutalist has made its mark as like this guy. In a lot of ways, people are saying this guy did the impossible with
Well,
with little money, almost no star power, which doesn't make sense.
I
I've
mean,
seen people
Adrian
say that.
Brody.
I'm like, what are you talking about? No star
Adrian
power.
Brody is like,
well,
very
no.
well known.
So I think that is kind. I think that movies have been so mystified, right? And we have so many like somebody put it really well where they said that like the Brutalist did what Oppenheimer did, which is be a movie for adults, was be like a 3 hour movie for adults that
Yeah.
is successful in capturing like the hearts and minds of people everywhere, right? Um, uh, the Brutalist did what Oppenheimer did, but with like 10% of the budget and like literally like 10% of the star power.
Mm.
And it's also like better than Oppenheimer, maybe.
It's debatable, yeah.
yeah, it's like a conversation you could have, right? So it's that's what it's like impossible, right? It's like yeah, it's this. I think that the Brutalist is now like demystifying some of this, where it's like yeah, it was really difficult to do because they didn't have a lot of money to just fuck around, right? But
Sure.
it's if you're really it's what the movie's about also right where it's like if
Yeah.
you really like want to do something if you not want to if you need to do something right if you need to express yourself you see the opportunities and like you make it happen right
Mhm.
uh yeah I think it's interesting
Well, yeah, I think it is interesting when we talk about like budgets because the idea of like the Hollywood budget for a film is like kind of they're they're kind of fake in some way of like you see some of these huge movies that cost $300 million and they're they look like shit and you kind of ask why this movie can do this and this movie can't because budgets are money is going to certain places for certain reasons, but it's not always being used to make a better movie. It's just to make a certain movie. So it's kind of there's always going to be as long as we're getting those numbers, there's always going to be those comparisons, but it depends on like how you're using the money. And it's not always necessarily we need $200 million. It's like to
nobody
get this
needs 200
exactly
million
no one
dollars
200 doesn't you're never gonna $200 million to make a movie but it's like to get the certain movie that has the certain pieces that for people who are asking these certain prices it's gonna inflate in a weird way but yeah I think there's definitely I don't know budgets are weird because when you start like comparing things and stuff like that but yeah
No,
I don't
budgets
know
are weird because $1 million is so much money. One
yeah
million
no
dollars is so
yeah
much money,
yeah
right?
yeah
And
and
then
that's
what we
like
talk about,
that's a micro budget movie basically. I
no,
mean,
that's like that's such a small movie. That's like a Kelly
yeah,
Reichardt
Yeah.
movie. Kelly Reichardt
yeah,
movies cost more than $1 million sometimes. That's
yeah,
like that's crazy. Okay, but to talk about the actual movie, I think that the first part of the Brutalist, not everybody, most people are saying that the first part is better than the second part. I think that is an interesting, very simple way of putting it because they're very different. Uh, the first part, I will say though, I think is much more entertaining than the second part, for sure. And I think that the first part is so technically well done. It is so technically
yeah,
proficient. That it's like oh my god, it kind of convinces you because you've only seen like you know what like a third of the movie basically by the time you hit the intermission it kind of convinces you that you're going like oh what you're about to see is going to be a perfect movie. It's like the first part is so like technically perfect that it's like a trailer for when the actual movie happens and everything happens later. um, uh and I think like literally like it's so well shot, some like just like incredibly blocked and framed images like there's the shot of Adrian Brody sitting like with his like sketch pad in like the outside on the lawn and it's like oh my god that's like a perfect photograph. And I
yeah,
think
Right.
I think that like the conversation at the party uh between Guy Pearce and Adrian Brody, where it's one Guy Pearce like is like he asked him, why architecture? Like, why are you an architect? What is special about being an architect, right? I think that's like kind of a perfect scene, perfectly written and executed scene, and obviously perfect in filmmaking, right? But it's like as close as you can get, I think, in a contemporary setting when we compare it to like these other movies. It's like so insane. But then I think, and then the second part happens, and that's when all the choices and all the plot actually happens in the movie, and a lot of the choices are very bold, and I'm gonna say kind of dumb. I think the second part like makes like some of the choices are kind of dumb, and then that turns people off because it's not as pristine as the first part, and that's why. Anyways, I think that's where like kind of the conversation is
Yeah. No, I
going.
think what yeah, I think there is a definite contrast, and I found myself maybe not I don't know how to really explain my feelings, but I found myself in the second watch the the second half being so like ridiculous and like crazy and all this like stuff happening. I found myself more engaged in the second half just because like there was just so much like insanity kind of going on, and things start to like kind of blow up, and then things that the bottle starts to kind of explode. And so there was just there were a lot of those like kind of scenes that it's the build up, right? So there was a lot of that I was kind of more pulled into on the second watch, but I think maybe the first time I saw it, I was more into the first half. But I think they definitely have there is that contrast, but it is, I don't know, I'm not like crazy about the whole like Felicity Jones and the other girl part of the movie. So like they definitely take like a good chunk of that second part, and I think if you're not crazy about them, like it definitely does affect that second part because it's less like Guy Pearce and Brody and more Brody and Felicity Jones in that second part, which is less interesting to me. Um, but I don't like hate the second half. I think it is still like very interesting. And
I
there's a lot of like
Yeah,
cool stuff in because there's a lot more like the building and all that stuff. We can really get into
all of the
the
themes
actual
are in the second half.
brutal.
Like
Yeah, exactly.
the whole movie happens in the second part. That's what I think is
Yeah,
interesting by people that are like, "Oh man, the first part is a masterpiece and then the second part is bad." And I'm like,
but
"That's interesting."
yeah,
Because I've seen some people say like, "Oh, the second part's when it gets good." Right? And I think that's like that makes more sense to as a take to have just because
it really picks up. I mean, in
that's when the
terms of like,
that's when things
yeah,
happen. That's when all the
yeah, yeah,
ideas are in the
yeah.
second
No, so
part.
I don't know. I found that I like both of them for like different reasons, and I dislike both of them for like different reasons. But I
I
found
think
myself
the
liking, yeah,
I think the two parts are in a little more conversation than I guess to me than you two are giving it, because I feel like there's multiple rug pulls in this movie of like the American dream of immigrant coming over. He starts works with his cousin Alessandro Nivola, I think Attila is his name. So he's like, oh sweet, working at a furniture shop. This is a cool gig. Then like the wife pulls some BS and like says like, oh, he made a move on me, so cuts off ties. Boom, his dream's over. Got to go find something else. Gets this awesome gig with Guy Pearce making this library for him.
yeah,
Then because Joe Alwyn sets it up, and Guy Pearce comes home and he's like, "Dude, fuck off, get out of here." And then he just goes and
yeah,
works in a coal yard. So he's like, "Okay, well, another rug pull once again." Then the second half is when he gets kind of the big, you know, big thing he gets to make. I can't remember what they call it, but the community center, library, church,
yeah,
gym, pool, and
yeah.
then obviously like the big train explosion happens, and that pulls it away from him too. And it's almost similar in a way to like Honora in a sense, where it's like he's like, why the train exploded?
It's
Why are we?
backwards.
Yeah, like once the train explodes, like why are we quitting now? Like just throw more money at it. It's fine. Guy Pearce like, dude, there's just a side task, side quest for me. I don't give a shit about you. Like get out of here. So it's a what is that? Like a pamphlet they gave you at the movie?
Yeah, it's like
I have it too over there.
That's sick.
That
But yeah, I
chaise
don't know.
lounge is beautiful.
I think the second half kind of builds on some stuff in the first half. I don't find them as distinct.
Of
I think the first half's
course.
more entertaining. The second half's more interesting, I guess is the way I'd put it. But
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at too. Like the first half's more entertaining, but it's like well, like when I say like all the themes and stuff, it's like and like well the stuff happens in the second half. It's like the first half is just table setting for the second for like like this movie to happen for like Guy Pearce to become an evil fucking oligarch and his wife to have become a character and Laszlo Toth to become a character as well because he's so passive in the first part of the movie
yeah,
Yeah.
and then in the second part he becomes ownership. and he becomes
Yeah.
an artist, and yeah.
Well,
It's
maybe I think that's why kind of I was talking about this a little earlier, but like why I kind of the second half's maybe more engaging to me because he becomes that character. When I was talking about him, like I prefer him when he's with those more like kind of performers and kind of because they're playing off each other. But in the second half, it's more of these like butting heads because he's really going at them. Where before he's kind of like just accept. Like there's a scene where Guy Pearce comes and he's like talking to them about the library and he's like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?" And he kind of just accepts that like defeat basically because he doesn't really fight back because and then later on you see him actually like go head to head with him a little more because he's now more established in America. Because his character kind
I
of
think the
evolution there.
confidence growth of Laszlo throughout the film is really interesting because my friend said something really cool that I really love in a way of describing the two acts or the two parts of the film, which is uh the first half obviously is supposed to be like this kind of beautiful, like when you arrive to America, it's scary and it feels like this grandiose thing, and it's like trying to find your footing, and initially going to family and then being torn down again and then building your way up and having this beautiful opportunity come. And then she described it as the second half almost immediately just takes a sledgehammer to it, and it's just like, no, like everything you're excited about right now, everything you're hopeful about, uh, coming back from this intermission, we're literally like throwing a brick at your face. And it's like, hell no. Like, this is not how any of this is gonna go. This is not a happy go lucky story because the American dream or the story and
Yeah,
progression of an artist is not this simple. And I think it's really I am a big fan of both parts. Seeing it 3 times now, it's like
yeah. I mean, you
this
kind of
sort of
have to be
thing.
if you see it 3 times.
Yeah. I mean, in a lot of ways, I've seen it 3 times to take people
Yeah,
and stuff. And the third watch was in IMAX. And it was in IMAX just kind of in the middle of the day. And there was maybe 15 people in our theater. And I was just like, man, I know this movie like the back of my hand at this point. I was
yeah,
so relaxed in that big theater watching it in the comfortable seats. And I really just felt like I got to, like, for 2 seconds, just even because the second watch in a lot of ways almost feels like a first watch again because it's just, again, there's so much movie.
yeah,
But being able to see it a third time and be like, I really know this movie now. And I just think it flows so well for me. Like, I remember a lot of people obviously talk about second half, it drags, they don't like it. And I do think, Brady and Mona decided to make some really ambitious and bold swings in a lot
yeah,
of ways in that second half, and are very unapologetic about it, which I do appreciate, is that they're not there's no half-assing those decisions. Like, they go full throttle with each decision. And I think a lot of the second half of why people may not like it is because, again, like you said, if you're not crazy on Felicity, if you're not crazy on Erzabet and
yeah,
Zsofia coming into the picture, the movie really kind of stops in its tracks for a second in the second half. Like, after that whole kind of section of the party happening, they take the picture. Joe Alwyn's being a fucking asshole. He's being a creep to Brody, which I
yeah, yeah,
love that interaction. I think
I
that
love
scene
how
is
he
so good.
talks,
Yeah, he's
Joe
such a
Alvin, where he's like,
such a dick
well,
in that movie, dude. He's such a
Laszlo
dick in
talk.
that movie.
I will say that it's like he announces everything.
yeah,
He enunciates
It's so
everything.
interesting. But I think, again, yeah, it's that kind of stopping momentum. And I've seen a lot of people actually say that they're like, did we really need the train thing to happen? Like, could there have just been some sort of conflicts and then they went to Carrara? And I'm like, well, I think the movie wants you to feel extended periods of time, right? Like,
yeah,
all these things keep happening, yada yada yada. But I think it's when we arrive in Carrara, Italy, that things just get so, like, the dynamics between them are so interesting. And on that third watch, the kind of immediate when Van Buren and Toth are sitting outside of the cafe in Italy, Van Buren looks like genuinely defeated. And you can tell for however many years it was after the train accident from now.
Yeah.
He's been going through the ringer with lawsuits, all this stuff. And I think truly he holds an immense amount of animosity towards Laszlo. And there, obviously to a certain degree, he's kind of always putting on this facade of himself whenever he's around people. Van Buren is never, he has nothing. And I think he completely understands that he is like just a talentless, rich fuck. Like he's nothing.
Yeah.
And I think there's something about, and I love that scene too in the cave party, with Laszlo and him voyeuristically watching him on the, on the balcony thing. And there's just that breaking point for Van Buren. And like, he's like, I think he really does take that accident and all those years of figuring out that lawsuit to be all fall on Laszlo. Like he's just completely moved his anger, frustration, everything on the Laszlo, and seeing Laszlo seemingly just like cheat on his wife. He's just like, I'm done with you and I need to establish my power back in some way or another. And you could see that Laszlo, as much as they fell on hard times and moved to New York, he has more confidence, I guess, if that makes sense. Like Laszlo did, I don't think obviously his confidence is broken until, what Van Buren decides to do, which is a terrifying scene.
Mhm.
I mean, it's really interesting. I don't know if you guys have any inputs
Doug,
on
you're muted.
That's so embarrassing. There's I muted the yawn and then I forgot to unmute. There's a rape scene that happens. Yeah, so there's a rape scene that happens in The Brutalist. It happens right here where Jesse's talking in Italy. I think this is the worst scene in the movie, and I think this is one of those things where I say that uh some like dumb decisions where I'm like, I don't know if The Brutalist is like actually a very intelligent film, like a super intelligent film, because having the having like the billionaire, like the rich talentless like millionaire literally rape the artist is so on the nose and kind of ridiculous because he was already because Laszlo was already metaphorically getting raped in the movie, and then just to have them like literally like to literally do it and show it on screen, it's like, I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot, you know?
it.
And
Is a
it's
lot.
like, and it's so like if I was talking to my friend that I saw it with the second time, and they were saying that it really felt like explaining what a metaphor was. It was like this metaphor was happening, and then like the filmmaker was like, okay, so but like this is what the metaphor means, and then they like they like really did it. And it's like, okay, I don't know. It feels super
Yeah.
on the nose and not, it like lacks any subtlety or nuance. Um,
I mean, I completely see that point. And I mean, I kind of agree with you to a certain extent. Like, I remember when it happened the first time, at least, I was like, well, that went the hardest left I could possibly imagine. Like, and I think to a certain degree, it is interesting that even with the like kind of really jarring, eerie close up of Van Buren looking for him before it happens, and even when he sits down next to him, the thought
Mm.
of that happening doesn't even, I mean, at least for me, it didn't even cross my mind. Like
Yeah.
I thought it was going to bring on a new dynamic that he caught Laszlo shooting up, but I
Mhm.
wasn't exactly seeing that. And then that happening, you are kind of like, well, as much as it's shocking and you're kind of just taking it and you're like, Jesus Christ, what the hell? But um the I just completely lost train of thought. But the I can't remember what I was gonna say. Someone go.
OMG, OMG. Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of like one of the big things that people are talking about with this movie is that scene
Yeah.
not working for everybody. I love the setting. I love the setting where that is shot, which is like this actual what's it called, like marble mine. Such a beautiful setting. I really don't like anything else that goes on in that scene too much though. After, because like so like they're like walking around and he's showing them like the marble and he pours the water and I'm like, this is all amazing. And then they throw the party and then there's the essay scene and it's like both the party. I was like, this isn't the vibe. I don't like these vibes. And then it's like these are bad
Sure.
vibes. They're bad vibes on purpose, but I was like, these are bad vibes. And then that scene, I was like, oh, and then this is like a dumb guy. I don't know. This is like a dumb creative decision, narrative decision.
It
So
almost
that's where
felt
I
like
was at with
Brady was
that.
using that as a portal to just like wrap up the movie because after that scene happens, I actually love the scene that follows directly after that, which is like um it kind of like it's Elizabeth writing to Jofia, and you see the construction of the Van Buren site kind of really going along quickly. And she says, Laszlo's completely lost himself, and he just kind of goes in the under tunnels of the watery tunnel,
Yeah.
the underground or whatever. And in a lot of ways, the movie just picks up really quickly after that, and is like boom, 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 confrontation, epilogue, we're done. And it almost,
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, because Doug, I mean, it's in a lot of ways, it's not an intelligent decision to put that in the movie. It almost feels like a way out. It's like an exit door opening of like, okay, we did that, and the metaphor's been shoved down the audience throat now, and we can like we can run to the finish line in some way or another of just wrapping it up. Because really,
Wouldn't
it's that and then the heroin thing, which I
Yeah,
thought was an interesting way to end that story, that
Yeah.
arc in his character. Um, them deciding they're going back to Europe,
yeah.
but then her being like,
Well,
I
no,
gotta,
them
I gotta.
deciding to go to the Middle East. It's different, but yes,
Where'd they
yeah.
go again? I don't
They
remember.
went to Israel.
Israel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
um, uh, no. So okay, wouldn't this is my thing about the rape scene also? Wouldn't the scene where Felicity Jones confronts Guy Pearce, wouldn't that be so much more interesting if we didn't see the rape scene? Like if we didn't like
Mm,
Well,
literally see him get
yeah.
raped.
That
Like
was kind of what I was going to bring up when we were talking about this idea of like, where this scene, this rape scene, is kind of setting up this whole end sequence, and it's like, so if we is it removing this specific scene, does that make this part stronger, or does that, like, we do have to completely rewrite this part? Do we have to change this part, or does completely removing it make it more interesting? And it's like almost this yeah, I think it is an interesting conversation to have about like actually seeing it versus like, is it just stronger than if we weren't to see it? And that's kind of like we were talking about earlier about the horrors of this film. Is so much of the horror is like describing it or bringing it up in a way of not actually showing it and kind of imagining the awful things that are going on. And that's the first time you actually, like, you're literally seeing something horrible happen to him. And that is like it's a very tonal shift, and it's very kind of, there's a specific element going on in that scene that is different from the rest of the film. So yeah, I think it is an interesting conversation to have about like removing that, and does that make it? I do think it would make that scene with her kind of confronting them stronger, because I think, like, that he raped him. So when she says it, it's not like, it's more of like the shocking thing there becomes more that Joe Alwyn kicks the shit out of her rather than like what she's actually saying. It becomes more shocking that Joe Alwyn is beating her up than what she's saying. Whereas I think, yeah, what you're saying is like, it would be more shocking to see that you're like, okay, what is she here to say? And like that coming out of her mouth would be differently received, I guess.
Yeah,
If we
because
that scene is also
see it.
crazy
there's an
because it
interesting
just went
dynamic
one
there because
way.
it's like the rich people at the table at the dinner. If you wouldn't have known that the rape actually took place, it's like the rich people at the dinner are like, do they believe him? Do they not? Or do they believe Felicity or do they
Yeah.
not? And then, it's like, do we believe her or not? I think it would have played a lot more interestingly, because I don't know how well that scene fully worked for me, because obviously after that Van Buren disappears and what I took from it is this kind of like he was this almighty powerful guy who couldn't be broken, and this kind of
Yeah.
shattered him and everyone's view of him, and that his whole family's kind of like, this dude, it's crazy that my brother's a psycho. All his rich friends are like, yeah, I don't know, this is getting a little weird for me. I feel like it's an optimistic view of what would happen. I feel like when people in such powerful positions get someone who's literally like a servant living on their
Yeah.
house grounds accusing them, I feel like people would just be like, yeah, they're crazy. Get them off my premises and we'll just move on with our dinner and have a champagne toast. So I don't know how well the ending worked for me. And then Van Buren disappearing, that's pretty much the end of the movie. They go search for him and then it goes to the epilogue. But yeah, I think I didn't consider that, but I think it would have actually been quite interesting to just not show the rape scene and then have that at the end and make you as the viewer be like, is this true? Is this not? Because clearly in between the rape scene and the confrontation, you have them shooting up heroin together. And clearly they're like, how reliable of what they're talking about when they're high on heroin is truth and what is not. So, because clearly Laszlo's like losing his mind as well. So, would have been an interesting element for sure.
I mean, does anyone think that Joe Alwyn's performance in that last scene was maybe a little telling, though, that there was Van Buren may have been taking advantage of him as well? Because I've talked to a lot of people that think that reaction, because even when he initially, when Felicity initially says that, he's like, obviously everyone at the table is like, what the fuck? But it's not till the daughter says, did something happen between you and my father? And she goes, not with me, implying there's only one other person that it could have been with, and he loses it. Like I do find that really interesting that in Joe Alwyn's final moments in that film, telling the audience that Van Buren, maybe that wasn't just Van Buren's, I don't know, it's always, he's always been that person. Like, I've even seen some people talk about Van Buren talking about his mom during the scene of him and him with Adrian, and like, he says like, me and my mother, we did things for each other, and he kind of takes a pause and he takes a moment and kind of smiles, and it's like, maybe there's so much, but I think Joe Alwyn's performance in that is really telling of like, there was a lot more to that family, obviously, than just that, and I do think Joe Alwyn had a very scary dynamic with his father when he was younger.
Well, even what Tyler was saying, where if we didn't see it, we'd be unclear about exactly what she's mentioning, but that Joe Alwyn in that performance it's almost this guilty reaction of like, he's reacting in a way of like something happened, whether it was to him or it was something happened to somebody, like he's reacting in a way of like, not in a way that you would react if you didn't, it was the first time hearing about any of this. If your father was completely innocent, you wouldn't kick the shit out of the person. So it is this very like guilty reaction of like, you gotta get the fuck out of here, like you can't be saying those things. So yeah, I think even that performance would be elevated with the removal of the scene, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting thing to consider. I didn't even think about, but I mean, Joe Alwyn, though, the whole movie was always on the edge of like exploding, clearly on some like. So I think the interpretation would be interesting. I think it could very well be the case if something happened there. I could also see it being. I mean, we've seen dynamics like this before, where like a rich son who's coddled, their father is God to them, and anything that's going to step in the way of that, they're going to lash out against. And like every conversation he has with the Toths is like he's like one wrong decision away from like stabbing them in the gut or something. Like literally. So I think Alwyn was just a psycho the whole movie, but an interesting read for the final that a lot to consider. And now I'm really excited to go see it a second time this week after having this conversation.
Yeah. Okay. There's two things that we have to touch on before we finish talking about the movie. We have to talk about the epilogue, just because it's such a strong fucking choice that I think a lot of people are not liking, or not even liking. It's just like a lot of people are like, this is bizarre. Like this is such a bizarre, because like it's so tonally different from the rest of the film. I'll just say quickly. I think that the epilogue, it is not. I would never include that scene like I did, because it is such a stark tonal shift, and it's so weird. But I think that thematically it is rich, because they're going back to Israel, and now it's his what is it? It's like his like not granddaughter, but like the granddaughter equivalent of his niece. I don't know.
Who
His
are you talking about?
his
Zofia?
no, Joshi. It's Jophia's daughter. Um,
Oh yeah.
yeah, yeah,
His
yeah. That's
his granddaughter, sure.
no, yeah, but it's like like that's why I'm like
Not important.
I don't know what the word for it is, but yeah,
It's relative.
well, yeah, his relative,
His
sure,
grandniece.
his grandniece.
Sure.
Um, what she's doing in that is like not dissimilar to what Guy Pearce was doing, right? In the sense that um, she is re retaking control of his work, right? Like putting him back in a box, you know, and having his work represent something that necessarily he didn't mean for it to. It is interesting.
Like how he's saying the community center was supposed to resemble the concentration camps.
Yeah, which I'm not saying that like that, but it's like having it be this using his work to justify the existence of Israel, right?
Mm.
And in a backwards way, by then also bringing up because I'm not saying like it doesn't not represent that because obviously it means something very specifically, and that's why he was fighting for it, and but it's such a strong choice interest to have this movie be about Zionism in a roundabout way, and then kind of, at least the way I'm interpreting it, is like, and then having somebody else, as he's very old, use his work as like to as a piece of like Jewish expressiveness, as like a Jewish piece of art, to justify Zionism, because he's saying like, oh, he went to America, and then he one of his many masterpieces, but then I don't know. I this is like a half baked thought. I haven't thought about it too hard, but it's a strong choice. Um, if
I
anybody
mean,
else wants to talk about the epilogue, but
I've seen Brady talk about the epilogue specifically. And because when I first saw it, I was like, jarring choice. Not even just what's going on, but just like visually everything. It's just like we have been completely sucked into that world for how long? And it almost just is like digibeta in your face, and you're like, what the fuck? Like
Yeah.
1980s. But Brady's, at least from what I heard about Brady, which actually made me appreciate the epilogue more, because I think for a lot of people, as myself included, when I walked out of it, I went, well, it's a lot to chew on, but I think I kind of loved all of that except for that epilogue. I was really kind of, turned off by it in some way or another. But Brady saying that obviously him and Mona started writing this movie because filmmaking and the artist's journey and whatever he's saying there. But he said he wrote it about his daughter, and like how, him as an artist, he's so proud of the films he does, and he's so proud of what he makes, and it is an incredibly horrible journey to get to the points of celebration for these things. But the fact that he gets to bask in the glory of them once they're finished, and then create a better world for his daughter,
did he
is
really
what
say
make.
that?
Yeah, that I literally did. It's in a conversation, but
That's interesting.
and he said something about how, like, it's just kind of him and Mona, or him specifically, they go through a lot of bad shit to get these things made, but once they're done, they get to bask in the glory of it and then make a better world for his daughter, and his daughter can live a better life. And I was like, I mean, that's kind of sweet.
Basking in the glory and making a better world are two things that I really would not prescribe to the epilogue at all. That's a very interesting thing to say about that.
I mean, that's not a direct quote, but it is
No, but
in the general. It's in the general
it's in
area
you're
of.
saying it's like in the
It's
spirit of
about
what
my
you're saying.
daughter.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, and then AI was used in this film. I just want to say that I need to say this on mic and not just say this in private conversations. People are getting really dumb about AI. People are getting really dumb about AI. People are becoming
Becoming is
techno.
crazy.
People are very dumb about AI. People are like techno paranoid. They don't know. They don't even know what they're paranoid about. They don't even know what AI is. I'm gonna say something that's gonna make is controversial actually. Now I think that
There we
was
go.
normal.
There we go.
Oh,
I'm gonna say like the voice stuff, like the altering of his voice. Not only do I think that is like a nothing burger, I think that the audience should just not even know that. That should be information that the audience should just not be able to find out about, because it does not matter at all. It does. I don't think it is so. It is equivalent to me. I think it is equivalent to like ADR almost, in terms of like how little the audience should know that it's happening. Because like you don't know whether or not a specific scene is ADR. You know by like if you could tell
You
it's
shouldn't.
ADR or not.
You
You know,
shouldn't.
you know what I
You
mean?
shouldn't.
Like, but you can't just like look up. Oh, was the scene ADR? Was ADR used in the scene? Um,
Mhm.
but I will say though, that being said, I think that it's dumb that they did it. I think like thinking about it, I think like, oh, this is like a really obsessive behavior that is like
Yeah.
that's a lot of work to do something that I think is dumb, right? But I don't think that it's like a moral issue. I think people are getting really ridiculous. You know,
Yeah.
that's my take.
It's not generative. I don't know. I guess I think the problem at hand is the generative AI thing. If you look back at what happened with Late Night with the Devil, it was like, well, that's lame because someone could have done that for you and it could have looked better. Like, why are
Yeah.
you doing that? But in terms of like this re-speecher technology or
Yeah.
whatever, it's still a hands-on process where it's not just like boop 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 boop, you know, get the thing and put it in. It's like the editor is still doing something, taking time in the post-production process. And again, Owen, you said this in your TikTok about it. I think the imperfections of a performance make the performance what it is. I don't truly think any of us would have noticed
No,
some
or cared,
vowels
Nobody
or
did.
give a
Yeah,
no one
yeah,
would give a
no,
or
fuck.
care.
no one. That's the thing. Even if somebody noticed, like there was like a Hungarian fucking like a native Hungarian language professor that was watching the movie and noticed, it's like okay, it's like
Would
it
have been
doesn't
like,
Yeah.
well,
matter.
it
You
is a
know, it's a
movie.
movie. It's a fucking movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that's the weird part about it, where it's like it's not like Doug said, it's not a moral issue and it's not like a big deal that they used it, but it's just like it is a little bit like silly that they went, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's silly that was like a big deal to them, but it doesn't ruin anything. I'm not like,
People saying that he should. This is another thing. People saying that he shouldn't be allowed to win awards. It's like you are losing the plot. You're actually
yeah,
losing. You're actually like you have no idea what you're talking
well,
about.
because it's such a
What about
and
the generative AI at the epilogue? Were those allegations cleared up? Like that they used it to create the ideas and then someone drew them afterwards?
Yeah, so it was that somebody. Here's the thing. I think that is likely the case, right? But I think what is interesting is, it's like that was like that one person did that though. You know, it wasn't like Brady. It wasn't like a director decision. It was like somebody was brought on, and part of their job was to make these designs, and they utilized individually AI. And then
Crazy
still,
that the
but
editor
It's
even did
not
that
in the
interview.
movie though. It's not. Yeah, the editor
yeah,
low-key
they
dropped the ball on that because like the editor being like, yeah, someone in the production design team used it to help inspire them, but they,
yeah,
they did all their work. And to a certain degree, I think it's stupid. But if it's not in the movie, if it's not on
it's
if
not a
it's
moral
not
issue.
in,
Adam, it's not a moral
Well,
it's
issue.
it's
not
funny
an
because
issue.
Doug, you brought up like we should never know about the AD, like the voice thing. I was like, why did why did we ever know that the things were like they used it like not even, because if it was on the screen, we would have learned about it. But if it's not on the screen,
Well, isn't it in the
why do
credits?
we?
I thought that's
Is
Respeecher
it?
has
Reese
the thing is like
Features in the
Respeecher's
credits.
Well, so no,
publicly been saying they've been working
yeah,
on these movies. No
the
one cared
Respeecher
until now though.
Respeecher thing is in the credits, but like some guy using AI and then not using it, like the AI is not on the screen, so we wouldn't. That's not in the credits.
Why is the editor talking to like redshark.com or whatever? Like what are
Dude.
It's like, what the
clearly
fuck?
like dude had to like just been like
No,
maybe maybe that's why the
this is
budget was so
camp-
low. Maybe he was
It's
mad he
a
got
hit.
paid
It's
too
a
little.
hit.
It's a hit piece. It's
Yeah.
campaign
It's a Timothy
debauchery.
Chalamet hit piece.
Yeah, it's literally like campaign
They
debauchery.
paid that guy to talk.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How much money
No.
does RedShark.com have you paying people? I think the editor doesn't like Brady Corbet. I don't know.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's interesting, and that's kind of the world we are in at this point. Is like things like this are gonna. I feel like every year for like the next span of time, there's gonna be an Oscar movie where there's gonna be some weird controversy that's like overblown, like this. Because I mean, the people were getting at the beginning, people were getting so confused about even like what the voice stuff was.
Yeah.
Because like we recorded an episode and we didn't even know like all the facts yet because the Brady's Deadline article hadn't come out yet. So originally it was like this idea of like his accent was altered and like his entire performance was altered, and then now it comes down to like vowels in Hungarian, like there's not, I don't know how many scenes it's in, but it's like so
he does not
small.
speak Hungarian a lot in the movie.
It's like
no, it's only, isn't it like almost only voiceovers too? Like he says a couple.
Yeah, it's
words.
like when he's reading like the letter is what they specifically
It's
say.
like,
yeah, you never
really,
it's like you never like are seeing him, I don't think, speak Hungarian like his mouth. I don't
Yeah,
think.
I mean the discourse about it is exhausting, and in a way I'm glad, people are already attaching that The Brutalist is an AI film, like on everything
like it's
now, and there's gonna
Drift
be
or
people
something like that.
there's gonna be people who are going to never care about the clarification, because to a certain extent it was almost aggravating to see these people who are like, finally I can justify why I don't want to watch this long ass movie that looks pretentious to them. And it's like, it's like, no, but no. And guys, everyone watching, Doug, Owen, and Kevin use Respeecher for the pod.
Yeah,
I'll show
my
you.
Hungarian
I'm like,
dialogue.
so this is DeepSeek on my phone, bro. Chinese AI. I'm not even joking. Like, I'm there, bro.
So yeah, AI.
But it has become like a Stan War thing on Twitter, where it's like, my actor would never use.
When doesn't anything become a Stan War on Twitter? Though?
No, I mean it's ridiculous.
It's
Well,
just,
and it also
it'll be
becomes-
forgotten about in a week.
It becomes like comparing apples to oranges to bananas. It's like also it's like, oh, because like, oh, my thing didn't use AI, and it's like, oh, but it did this, and it's like, that's sure. It's like AI is like, you guys don't know what AI, like, it's like AI is being used for too many things for business reasons because it's fucking. I don't know. It's annoying.
Yeah, I mean, Timothée Chalamet supported the use of AI in Dune Part 2, so like,
it's true.
No one's.
So
perfect,
he's not getting an Oscar for Bob Dylan.
Yeah,
good. Presence is the first of the 2 films directed by Steven Soderbergh that was released this year. Tyler, you went to Sundance last year?
No, I got a screener of this.
Okay.
I went to Sundance 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah. I saw Magazine Dream starring Jonathan Majors.
Right. Okay.
Wow, that unreleased archive.
Yeah.
Wait, is that still not out, right?
It's coming out in a
I
couple
think
months.
it's being released. Yeah, I think it's being released this year.
That's crazy.
Finally.
They really showed that. That's crazy.
Yeah, poor
people
guy,
said
the director.
people said that was his Oscar movie. People said that was
Yeah,
his
they
Oscar
were
movie.
saying, what if
What's
Do you agree with that statement?
What if Jonathan Majors used AI?
What if Jonathan Majors gonna come
I'll
back?
let you all see it for yourself and make your own decision.
His
And it's
abs
been
are
forever.
AI.
It's been literally like 2 years, so like 600 movies ago. So I'll rewatch it when it comes out in theaters again.
Tyler,
Yeah.
do you think that Jonathan Majors was supposed to be in Sinners?
Yes, 100%, 100,000%.
Oh man.
Okay, but Presence. This movie. Here's what. A family becomes convinced they are not alone after moving into their new home in the suburbs. I love this movie. Owen loves this movie. I won't speak for the two of you. This is not a horror movie,
No.
and let's talk about it.
I loved it. I thought it was really great, like really, really great, and it made me realize, damn, I should watch more Soderbergh, because I'm pretty sure I've only seen like the first Ocean's movie and Sex, Lies, and Videotape, which is one of my favorite movies. So I love that movie. But this dude cannot be held down by a genre, and he's goated. And Presence is kind of goated. So yeah.
There you go.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I really liked Presence. I saw it a few weeks ago, which obviously it premiered at Sundance last year, but none of my mutuals on Letterboxd, people I follow, really had it reviewed at all. So I had no idea going into it. I'm a wuss with horror movies, so all I knew about this was the trailers I saw before in theaters. I was like, damn, like, because the music they use in the trailer is insane.
It's like
they
evil. It's fucking evil
yeah,
ass
and then
music.
they use the pull quote of like scariest movie you'll ever see. So going into this, I'm like, shit, okay, like I'm
That's
buckled
an
in.
evil pull quote, bro. Jesus Christ.
I know Neon needs to, because so it was an interesting experience for me going into this with not knowing anyone's reactions. So like I was like a slow disarmament throughout the movie. I'm like, oh, this isn't scary at all. At least
it's literally not a horror movie.
Yeah, which is like, again, not like a critique or a positive. It's just crazy that they marketed that way, because literally I'd see this before other movies. I'm like, shit, this movie's gonna terrify me. And then I got a screener set. I'm like, fuck, dude, like this. Watching it on my projector, I'm gonna
At least Longlegs is like a creepy, like scary movie.
Like I didn't think Longlegs was the scariest, but like I can see like there's scary images in that movie, and like I see
this
why.
Is like this isn't a horror. This is like way more like this. People are trying to compare this to other horror movies as critiques. This is way more in line with something like a Ghost Story, the David
like
Lowery
Paranormal
movie.
But they're trying to make it Paranormal Activity. And I thought your TikTok was actually like the best way to put it. Like Neon just had no clue what to do with this movie, which hence the January release, hence the marketing.
Yeah.
And like I see people go ahead, sorry.
No. I was just gonna say, I think people, to a certain degree, if they marketed this movie how this movie was, how many people would actually want to go see it?
Well, that's the problem.
I don't think that many people are seeing it anyways, though.
Yeah.
I think the problem with marketing in the way that some of these things have to be sold is like you have to sometimes sell a movie that it's not to get more people in to watch it, but then it's like you're not really selling it to the audience that would like it. You're selling to the audience that might see it.
Because the audience that knew
like
that they would like the movie like this.
They were already probably gonna see it. You know, it's like the people who were like the people who like Soderbergh, and like if you heard like some of like the things that were coming out when this movie. There was this I gotta look up where it was from, but the there's certain things that were certain directors like that were brought up, and certain things we got brought up. Like Michael Snow was brought up when this movie was initially playing like a while ago, and certain things like that. And so like that is going to get a certain demographic excited that you're not really like marketing to. But it's interesting the way that they ended up doing it, because I remember I saw it when I was seeing it. It was like a super quiet theater. Everyone's super quiet when watching the movie, and it is that thing. It's like I think there are people that really like horror movies that are just gonna see any like new big horror movie that's marketed to them, and they probably really did not like this movie because it's going for something super specific that I really, really liked, and I think it's I was looking up. I was reading some articles, and there's this article from like 11 years ago that's like Steven Soderbergh is retiring or something like that, and then I saw some other article, and it was like Steven Soderbergh since retiring has made more movies than Quentin Tarantino has made in his entire career. And it's like this guy loves making movies. He talks about there's Chris Sullivan was talking about how Soderbergh would shoot whatever they shot that day, and Soderbergh would be like in the car, and it would edit the entire stuff they shot that day, and then he would be able to send it to him by the time he got home. And there's it's filled with like these long takes, and there's apparently, I don't know where it is in the movie, but there's only like one like fake. There's only one take that's like meshed together in terms of these like long ones, but they're all like these really long takes. So it's minimal editing, but it's like Soderbergh this late in his career is still always like wanting to experiment and try new things, and he's always talked about at the beginning of the episode. I talked about it, but he's always working in like different genres. He's working different ways. He's shot movies on iPhone. He's always trying to push.
He shot multiple movies on iPhone.
He shot movies on iPhone where it's like he's always trying to find new ways to do things. And I think there's an interesting kind of thing where you'll have up and coming directors, and you'll have guys who've been in the business forever, and those are the people who experiment. Right? It's like in your new movie, you're coming on I'm going to use experimentation as a way to break in and be like, oh, this is a new way to do things, and it's like interesting because it's like, oh, this guy does something different. But then you have guys like Soderbergh who's like, I live to experiment and try new ways and push. But then there's people who
have guys like, so it's just Soderbergh.
No, I know, but it is like I feel like there is like older people who are trying to push. Like I think we talk about like it's not on the same level, but I think Robert Zemeckis' Here gets brought up in conversation with this movie because they're two recent movies where they're trying things formally, right? These guys are trying things formally, and it's like it's so bizarre that like that is like a rarity in the movie business, because it is like, this is interesting, like trying things, and even if you don't even like the movie, it's like it's trying something new and it's trying to do something. And I think there is a problem with the way that it's kind of it's an industry, and you're kind of, we have people who maybe want to try things and think trying things is interesting, but there's this scary thing of like, you're living check to check, or you're, movie to movie, you're trying to make money, right? It's an industry trying to make money. So it's, when Soderbergh is able to kind of put his own, it's like M Night, where M Night is, financing his own movie, so he can kind of do what he wants. There's a level of ownership that Soderbergh has, that he can try things and experiment, and he can do whatever he wants because he's Steven Soderbergh. So you kind of have to, if you want to experiment without like this really huge cloud of failure looming over you, you have to kind of have that reputation, or you have to be able like to self-finance or do something like that. Um, but I think it is interesting in kind of conversation with other horror movies, quote unquote horror movies, but just like quote unquote movies that you might throw similarities into this, that exist in the sphere, and like how they're kind of operating with certain things like
Yeah,
that.
people are throwing out fuck, what's it even called? That movie we don't like. The A Violent Night. Oh, In a Violent Nature.
Oh,
In a violent nature.
Because it's also like a perspective based
Yeah,
thing.
trying to do something differently.
Yeah.
but the thing is, In a Violent Nature didn't commit. This commits, so that's why I
Yeah.
appreciate this so much more.
No, well, that was my big issue with it in Violent Nature. Is I was like, fuck, dude, like this is like the movie I wanted. Yeah, I think that's a great. I think that is a great point, because we're talking about these like really long takes, and Soderbergh kind of, and then in Violent Nature is it. I don't think in Violent Nature, the director of that film um, staged it well. And so this is there's so much, it's so particular. Like Soderbergh, when writing the first 10 pages of the script, he's like writing how everything is going to be. Everything is all like this. And it's in a way that you can do it in a long take, right? It's all set up to work this way. Where in the Violent Nature, it's like, you could have made it work in these long ways, but it's kind of chopped together in a way where it's like,
The filmmakers were not.
messy.
I'm unconvinced that the filmmakers behind In a Violent Nature are even good filmmakers.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
like,
Is this is an example of Soderbergh is incredible with all this stuff, and it's so well put together, and like a comp. And I think that's why you might see people really like diss on this movie, but they're just like, it's so like, Soderbergh is incredibly competent, and like he knows what the like this is a person who knows what the fuck he's doing. And I think Soderbergh is an interesting case of a guy who's not often flashy. I think he does so many things that are, in this case, this is a super minimalist movie, but he knows what the fuck he's doing. He knows where to put everything. He knows what he's doing in a way that, like, I think it's interesting when we talk about like how long movies take to make, and how like, and when someone really knows what the fuck they're doing, they can get that shit done quickly. And because they just, it's like where Ridley Scott will talk about like putting 12 cameras or whatever, and but he's setting it up in like 5 minutes, because he just knows where to put it. He knows where he wants to put all the things. It's all about knowing. It's making choices, but knowing where like the choices you want to make, and understanding the choices you want to make, but having that confidence to like kind of fully. It's like Soderbergh's not shooting anything he doesn't need. He's shooting everything he needs because he knows what he wants. So it's like, it's not like there's a level of control to a guy like this that you're just not getting in a lot of stuff. So it's a little, you get messier shit, I guess.
Yeah. And Adam Naiman's letterbox log for Presence, he said that there's this prevailing view of Soderbergh as a guy who eventually got so good at making movies he had to gamify the process just to stay hungry. And that's such a sick way of talking about him, I think.
That's super cool.
I mean, it's a cool movie. Like I again, it's not the movie I thought I expected it to be. And the thing is, it's a 3.2 on Letterboxd right now. I think if not a lot of people see this movie, it'll stay there. If a ton of people see this movie, this is getting in the 2s for sure. Because I think they're just setting up the movie for it to be a movie people are going to hate, because they're selling it to the wrong audiences, which I get why they have to. But I think people's experience with grief and trauma is going to determine a lot how they take away from this movie. Like I know you brought up A Ghost Story already, which a lot of people already compared, which I really like that movie. I think it spoke to me really well, and I think a lot of the elements I really like about that I liked about this one.
I think that movie is worse than this, but
I don't know what I have. If I have it higher or lower, I think that they're in the same ballpark for me. I don't really.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
I'm not a huge guy, but it
Same
works
here.
for me. But Presence has all those elements plus being experimental and something you want. Like you don't see stuff like this, and I think they fully commit to it. Like I said, it's not a horror movie. There's like a shocking moment towards the end, but again, you have a cast with Lucy Liu. But beyond that, you have just like a bunch of unknowns other than Julia Fox. Like Chris Sullivan's most known for like, what is that? This Is Us.
This Is Us.
This movie has like 6,000 logs or something. And it's already the second most popular film in his filmography behind Guardians of the Galaxy 2, where he's not even like a part of it. And then you have a bunch of unknowns who are just like in nothing. Other than this, you have a guy making his debut named, or not his debut, the brother's debut, I believe, but West Mulholland is the name.
Great name.
Unreal
Great
name.
How does that unbelievable name.
Which I think he kind of sucks in this. He's the only one I didn't really like. And the ending really depends on his ability to kind of sell something sinister. And that didn't work for me the most because of him. But everything else I thought was fine.
The David Koepp screenplay kind of failed him a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
He just wasn't capable of pulling off what David Koepp was selling for him.
His little monologue he has to do. I don't know if he should.
Well,
have
the whole
like
final
that
scene,
all,
I think
like...
he was just kind of awful, and everything was. Yeah, he just wasn't. Sorry, West Mulholland, if you're listening, but you're not that guy.
Yeah, I kind of think it works in a way of like, it's like this kind of shitty kid who's like, he kind of sucks, and he's like this like, I don't know, it's almost pathetic in the way that he is, like all the stuff he says is so fucking like pathetic in like a almost realistic tone of like, he's like this shitty kid who's like killing girls and he's like a loser. So he's not like, nothing that he says is really like, I don't know, it's very, I love the scenes with him because it's so intimate and like awkward. We're in there and he's saying these like weird like school shooter things and it's just like we're just like sitting there in the room with him and it's so awkward where I do like his, I think his performance is odd. He's very odd, and I wouldn't say I disliked it, but it is like there's this kind of off-putting nature to him, and for someone that is like this kind of quote unquote like a villain of the film, I think it does work for me. But I think you brought up Chris Sullivan. I think Chris Sullivan knocks it out of the park. I think he's incredible. He's so good, and that's what I think Soderbergh is able to get good performances out of a lot of people. But I think this is an interesting film for Soderbergh in a way of like the performances are unique in this like kind of stilted way, and it's, I mean, there's almost like this stage element to the film where you have these like long takes that were kind of sitting with people, and where I think it's like this is like the hardest acting, that like acting with long takes is way harder than like chopping up the best performances, and like there's way less on the edit, and like the way that it was shot, it was like I there wasn't many, there wasn't probably a lot of takes to choose from. I know I was reading about Soderbergh, whenever they had to redo a take, it was probably because Soderbergh, because he's moving the camera now, so he probably didn't like exactly where he was with the camera, rather than like the take itself on the performance level. It's there's so much going on. There's so much performance with the camera to get it exactly how he wants it, that it's probably less, oh, I like this, the way this guy said this line, than the way that the camera was. But I think there's interesting parts where you can maybe swap out audio. Like there are certain scenes where the camera will go in the room and then turn and focus on this part of the thing, but you're still hearing the guys in the other room, and you can kind of with the power of editing change those things. But there's so much of it that is like, I think the choices of what shots to use and what, because you're using these long takes, it's more of like the success of how he was maneuvering and performing with the camera, which may lead to quote unquote weaker performances because of all that kind of going on. But I think it does, for me, work so well in those like intimate moments And I think I'm really, a big fan of long takes, not for long take's sake, but what they provide, and the different kind of things that it affects the viewer in a way. Because I mean, I think dialogue is a big thing. There's a specific ways that we shoot and edit dialogue that are so like at this point like neutered and not interesting. But I think there's so many ways that you can shoot dialogue in interesting ways, and I really love. Especially there's so many interesting scenes of like these one-on-one kind of sequences that there's just two people kind of talking in like a very, and we're kind of just looking in the corner of the room and we're just kind of observing them in a way that is really interesting in like a movie made. I don't know how to. It's interesting to talk about this movie. I don't know how to describe because it's not like a big studio movie, but it's not a like it's not like a super small like movie that someone made in their backyard. It's like there's a level of like uh you know prestige to the filmmaking, but it isn't like a
No, it's like a
necessarily.
small movie. It's a small movie, but it's a Soderbergh thing. So it's
That's
like
what I'm saying.
he
So
was
it's like
able to get a couple million dollars.
there's
Yeah.
a level of like, yeah, I guess there's a little of money into it that you wouldn't see this kind of stuff in normally. Like, I think of there was kind of conversation online about what people wondering if like Soderbergh was a fan of Hong Sang-soo. And they're like this because of the way they're like people eating over dinner and these like long cakes and stuff like that. And those movies are made for like $100,000, right? And then so it's like this is like a different interesting movie where it's like a neon movie and it's being marketed as a horror movie. But then you have these like long takes of people just like eating dinner, and I'm so I don't know. I'm really excited to see his next movie, Black Bag, because
Mm-hmm.
there's an interesting. I think
It's gonna
that's something
change
that
my whole
they're
life.
gonna be able to sell Black Bag easier because it is a
It's a
more
genre film.
it's actually
Yeah.
something that they can probably sell easier. But it's still gonna have there's more. It's a Soderbergh film, so it's gonna be really great. But I kind of mentioned this in my TikTok video about how Soderbergh is he uses those genre elements to sell something. Like he's not like, oh, I want to make a ghost movie and that's like the interesting part to him, right? It's like I want to make a movie where the camera is like a character, and then now I'm gonna add the ghost part to like sell it to be able to get it made, right? So
Mhm.
it's like the idea, like say maybe it's like the heist, it wants to do a heist movie, but like what is the actual, like what is the interesting element for him? Why is what is the purpose of making it for Soderbergh? So there's a reason to make it for him, and then there's a reason that they would make it. And I think that's kind of how you have to play the game sometimes, is you have to make these kind of package deals. But I think he's really, like I talked about earlier, like he's really been great at maneuvering from the independent scene to this more, he's worked on studio films and he's just been able to make all these different kind of movies made because he really understands the industry in a way where he's been able to maneuver it. And he's a great producer, but I think it also helps that he is an editor and a cinematographer because he's always thinking as an editor. So he's really efficient. He's a super efficient filmmaker, which is great for people who are financing these things. Is
Yeah.
when you have someone super efficient, and like the editor brain is like he's thinking like, how am I going to cut this and put this all together? And he basically does it on the way home. So it's like he's so efficient that people putting money into this are going to be like, yeah, I'll throw you a bone or two because you deliver on time and you deliver it super fast and you're stuff like that.
Yeah, Editor Brain is really good. It reminds me of in the Directors on Directors where Luca Guadagnino was talking about Zendaya as like an actor and a producer for Challengers was like worried about how they weren't doing like a lot of takes and
Yeah,
they weren't like shooting any coverage, and Luca explained, he was like, no, so like this is gonna go here and this is gonna go here. It's like he's like, I'm editing it in my
yeah,
head as we go, like I got it.
yeah. No, I think that like that is the if for younger people wanting to direct things, I think editing is super important because if you're thinking about how you're going to put everything together and how you're going to edit it, then you're only going to get what you need. You don't there's this you don't want to shoot just to shoot. You're shooting to edit it and put it together because it eventually has to be
Werner
put in.
Herzog, in
put
his
in-
in his masterclass, he said that you are a filmmaker, not a garbage collector, right? Which
yeah.
is
yeah. Yeah.
because if
Well,
you're shooting a bunch
yeah.
of shit you're not going to use, it's garbage.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a great quote. That's a
Yeah.
fantastic
No,
quote.
well, I just think there's an interesting level to this this film, and I think it's interesting. I think this film has almost reshaped how I think about. Uh, I, I think there's so much that this film gains from Soderbergh being his own camera operator, and I think it's really fascinating how, and I understand why it's not the norm because it's really hard. Um, but it's this idea of like Sam Brockett talks about, like the camera being an extension of your body, right? And he's, the way that he's moving his body and moving the camera to create movement, and there was this kind of physical nature. There's this physicality that comes with operating the camera yourself.
Mhm.
And I came away from this movie being like, I think that's an important thing. I think we need more filmmakers that do that. I think that is like super. I understand the reasoning, and there even like with EFIS recently, it's a guy who's been a cinematographer before, but he opted to not do it because it's just impractical. It's very hard to do all those things, and it makes sense for younger filmmakers and just filmmakers in general to take a step back and allow someone who they trust to do that. But there is just this thing that this kind of physicality that comes with the operating your own camera that I came away with after seeing this movie really kind of thinking about that and finding a great importance in it. I think there's a super great importance in it, and it's just not the norm. And I'd like to see that more because I think not only editing, I think editing it and being your own cinematographer, it's just a different. There's a level of authorship, and there's a level of like you were in the movie, and you're kind of like that is unprecedented. And that's why I mean Soderbergh is kind of cracked because of no one's really doing that, but people are doing that. But it's like it's just a norm on like $100,000 movie or something. It's not the norm on this $1 million project because it's so much responsibility, and it makes sense to be like, oh, you're an editor I like and I trust, and I think you are a good editor, and I'm going to. But it's also this thing of like it's someone else's eye, right? You shoot it and you have your kind of vision, but then you want someone else to look at it because they're seeing it in a different way. So it makes there are reasons for it. There is a level of like you're not a director, you're not an editor, you're not a cinematographer, you're a filmmaker, and you're making a film, and you're making this. You're more like a a painter or or whatever. You're building this house, but you're the only. Yeah, but it's such a collaborative thing, and there's the way that the actors and all this stuff. It's super collaborative, but there is an element that is definitely gained from doing more, I guess.
Yeah.
yes.
About
Also, this.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say you brought up Song Sang Soon. Oh, sorry,
Oh, yeah.
Hong Sang Soon.
Yeah.
He's like again, like you said, like small budgets, right? Hong
Yeah.
Sang Soo. He had like a screenshot go viral on Twitter a couple years ago because one of his movies, it's like
All of
every single thing, but it's not only like director, editor, like cinematographer. It's also like makeup, hairstyling, like it's like every single production thing is Hong Sang Soo.
Yeah.
Just like Bo
sorry.
Burnham's Inside.
Oh, true. Yeah. Also,
Yeah.
same with that.
Love or hate him,
There's,
similar thing.
Yeah.
Vincent Gallo does similar, but I'm saying those are more like projects that are smaller.
Yeah.
Because
Once they get it gets out of there's too much to do. You're
yeah,
only
no,
you're
that's
only
what
one
I think
person.
is there. I think in bigger things like you can't do everything. You can't be doing the makeup and the hairstyling. It's that's impractical. It's just not anything. But I think it is more practical for people to be their own camera operators, and I think that there's the physicality that like it's one thing to be like I trust this guy and I can tell him exactly what I want him to do, but it's one thing to actually physically grab the camera and put it where you want it and to be moving it yourself. And there is like this element of like Soderbergh is behind the camera every shot and he is actually playing this, and I think it works so well. And there's a conversation about, and the presence is such a conversation about like filmmaking, and he is literally the ghost the entire time. And I don't know. I don't think this movie would have worked for me nearly as much if he wasn't actually the ghost. Like he wasn't actually holding the camera.
He makes being a ghost look lame though, because you're telling me I have to use like the stairs still if I'm gonna go like to a different room. Like I have to take the humans. Like I gotta quickly save someone from being, and I gotta take 3 flights of stairs. I can't just like pop down and shake the brother to wake up, which I thought was such a cool scene. But
well, it makes sense though if you think about ghosts.
No, I know.
Like,
I'm just
like,
saying. It's funny.
Yeah, no, but if you think about like ghosts and how like they've been in like ghosts like picking stuff up and moving stuff around, it's like, oh, then they would just be in like a physical, like a person, like in a physical space, and need to like get out of the way so they don't bump into people or whatever.
No, yeah,
sure. Someone in my audience was like, when when it goes away from all the scary stuff happening at the end and it starts going down the stairs, literally someone in my audience was like, hurry up! Get down there, dude.
No, but there is that feeling of like when you're in that like the closet and you're like watching her do these things, you're like watching this guy do this evil shit. You're like, because you've seen then before, like the ghost has this ability to pick up books and like knock over drinks, and you're like, how long is this ghost gonna like wait? So you are almost like in anticipation of something happening that you're not gonna you don't assume that they're just gonna watch all this go down without interfering.
No, it was almost because it's an entity and it's like has thoughts and stuff. I remember during that last section being like, so are you gonna like are you gonna like do something?
Yeah,
because you're watching this for a minute. Like you are watching this for a minute. That was really interesting. Good through line to these two movies. Evil white boys at the center of each of them.
But I think it brings a different experience where you're talking about like we're not being like, oh, someone's got to help her, someone's gonna help her. It's like we as this like entity, like the entity that we're looking through has to do something. It's not like someone help. It's like this thing that we are looking through needs to do something. The camera needs to like do something. The camera needs to get up and do something in some way. Where the relationship I think you have to the characters and you have to the movie and the way that you are looking through everything, it's very a unique. It's such a unique kind of response that I think is, I don't know. I think it's so the kind of relationship that you have to not only the camera but that the camera has to the actors is super unique, and I think they kind of knocked that out of the park. I think it's from like the point, like the the beginning of the movie. I think they really set all these kind of the way we interact with things really.
Another layer to this movie that I love a lot is how it handles time. Where I won't spoil the movie. I don't even think we should talk about spoilers really, other than that. I also say I think the ending of this movie is so sad, but like the way that it handles time, where the entity like exists out of the presence in the film exists like literally removed from the time of real life, and like time is not moving in the same way as them, and how like it's like circular, and it's like it's confused and it doesn't know why it's here or what's going to happen, and it's like that is so powerful. I think that's so powerful.
That stuff makes the movie, because and Soderbergh kind of talked about like the presence is learning as we're kind of learning, and we're kind of dropped in this house and we're like, okay, where the fuck are we? And then Julia Fox comes in and we're kind of learning things, and then it like goes to black and we're like jump into new parts and stuff, but we're figuring out with the camera and this presence, and that makes that reveal at the end and all that stuff at the end so much more powerful. And that's I'm really excited to see it again, because I think with the kind of knowledge of everything, I think there's a lot of it's. I think there's gonna get something different out of it. But I think that's why I'm seeing people not like the ending and stuff like that. But I think this arc that the camera goes on and that ending makes this movie so special, because and Soderbergh kind of talked about like not wanting it to be a movie that you go and see, you get scared of it, and then you never think about it again. Where I think we didn't talk about Wolfman this episode, but I think that's a similar thing. Like I think Wolfman came out recently.
We said we were going to talk about Wolfman this episode at the end of last episode.
We're not doing that. But cut Wolfman out of the program because this episode would have been too long. But I think there's a difference between Wolfman and Presence Where Wolfman is like, oh, you get scared, and then you're not going to think about the movie again. Where Presence is like, it's seeking for more, it's looking for more, and it's less about like there's an experience you have, and then the ending of the movie recontextualizes everything that you just watched, and
Yeah.
that whole like that arc. There's an arc that the actual camera goes on, and there's this character that you are learning with, but they don't really even know who they are yet. There's this like a really interesting res- relationship that this entity has, where like they don't know themselves yet, and they're just kind of figuring things out, but you don't know them yet, and you're figuring out with them. So you kind of, in many ways, are just that. You are the camera. You are the presence. And I don't know. I think it's super fascinating, and I think it's definitely something that if you're watching this and you haven't seen it yet, highly recommend it. I think it's super great.
Mm-hmm.
I want to rewatch it soon because, again, without spoiling anything, I think the ending is literally the last minute is like the total
Yeah, it's
cherry
like,
on
what
top.
the
I was
fuck
Like
just
literally
it's
happened?
sobbing, bro. I was literally
it's just
sobbing in the
like,
movie theater.
whoa, yeah, no, it's a total like, it makes you think, it makes you want to rewatch it and like look at it through the lens of knowing everything,
Yeah.
and it totally like
I'm like
breaks your
tearing up
heart.
thinking about it. No,
It's
because there's
I know,
one moment like it's
fucked
like
up.
right at the very end, right? But it's like when it's in the trailer when Lucy Liu feels the
Looks at the
presence, like
yeah, yeah.
notices the presence, and I was like, I literally just started sobbing. So I was so crazy.
For Lucy Liu not being in that movie as much to a certain extent as I thought she would be, they were just like, ladies and gentlemen, Lucy Liu, right? Like right at the
Well,
end, it's
she's
just
so famous, like
yeah,
compared
Yeah.
to
she's so
everybody
I know
else. It's
she's so famous.
crazy.
I was like surprised she wasn't utilized a little bit more, but then it's like, cool, let's utilize her for
What?
what the
She's
audience is
fantastic.
going to walk out with.
I think she's really good as like this like horrible mom.
I know
Like she's like
it's so
awful,
weird,
but
so
like
weird.
I think that's uh give props to Lucy Liu on that, because she does like there's like a really weird relationship that she has with her son, but not only her son but her daughter and her husband. There's like there's this the there's really weird conflicts in everyone's relationship in this house,
It's
and I
interesting
think
looking at this poster.
yep.
She's like looking at her son, and he's looking at the daughter, and it's like the dynamics are even on
Yeah,
the
no,
poster right there.
I think there are really interesting like kind of nuclear family dynamics that we have going on in this house, and I think it's interesting to watch it all unfold. I think while the dialogue, it may be still maybe stilted, and the performances might be this singular thing. I think the things they say, especially looking back on it with everything going on, there's a lot of really impactful dialogue. I think that's why I'm interested really to watch it back, because the relationships that are being formed and these kind of headbutting that happens in the film, I think will maybe be even more effective, or just interesting to rewatch it with everything in context.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Not a horror movie. Um,
Yeah, super sad movie. That's why it's
yeah,
like it's
super
so bizarre.
sad.
It's
Super
so
sad movie.
so bizarre to be like, oh, this is the scariest shit ever, and then it's like sad like family drama.
Yeah, well, so I saw the movie and I was like emotionally distraught, and then I had to immediately go meet my friend to go see Jennifer's Body, and she was like, "Oh, is the movie good?" And I was like, "Was it scary?" And I was like, "No, it's really sad. It's like not scary at
Yeah,
all."
yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome though. Sad but awesome. Steven Soderbergh, GOAT.
Yeah, are you guys excited for Black Bag, Tyler and Jesse?
I'm interested. Yeah, I'm excited. I want to watch more of his heist stuff because again, I think
Yeah,
I've only seen one of the Ocean's movies, but like half-assed. I think it's been a
those
long time.
the Ocean's movies are like the most fun movies ever. Like I love those movies so much. They're like I those are so fun to like kind of throw on, because it's like you have like nine of like the most famous people at the time just in those movies, and then like having a blast. But it's like, again, Soderbergh is in complete control, and it's super sleek, and yeah, those movies are great.
I want to watch Out of Sight. I know that's Tarantino's playing that at his theater for
Oh,
matinee show times next month, so I might
Hell yeah. No, I mean
Yeah.
George Clooney is incredible in anything
George Clooney's
Soderbergh, and it's
good.
like I was looking at his recent filmography recently. I was like, "What the fuck, dude? George Clooney, come back to us!" Because he, when utilized by like a real filmmaker, he's like one of our best. But I don't know what he's doing right now.
Working with John
Casamigos.
Watts and
Yeah, he was in The Flash.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Okay,
Oscars.
Presence. Yes, Presence. Good movie. I have all of the Oscars nominees pulled up. Every single Oscar nomination pulled up. Did you guys watch the broadcast, the live stream with Rachel Sennett and Bowen Yang?
yeah.
No,
I watched it. I watched that shit live.
Mhm.
Wow.
Doug was there.
I was there. Well, don't let me
Watched at
there, bro.
7
Don't let me in
a.m..
the room.
Don't let Doug be the presence in that room.
Okay.
He might get brutal.
It's getting brutal out here.
Okay. I have all of the nominees pulled up. I'm just gonna read through them, and if you have an interesting thing to say, stop me and say it. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay. Best Picture. Honora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, and Wicked.
This is my first time hearing about this.
I think the big thing is that Sing Sing is not represented here.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, but
That was like seen as like a front runner
Bummer.
too
it
for like
was,
a while.
but A24
Fumbled that bag.
Some of their campaign managers don't know what they're doing. I'm not gonna lie. But I will say, Nickel Boys. Have
Yeah.
Tyler and Jesse, have both of you seen Nickel Boys?
No.
Oh
No.
wow. Okay. Really good movie. This is something that me and Owen also saw at New York Film Festival. It's funny because we kind of went into this, or at least I'll speak for myself. I went into the movie, thinking about it as like an Oscar-y thing, and then I watched it, and afterwards I was talking to Owen and Kevin, and I was like, "Oh man, that movie's not getting nominated for any Oscars because it's so
Yeah, it's just super experimental.
yeah, yeah." Really, really cool, experimental, interesting movie. The coolest nominee for Best Picture out of all these because of how it's
Interesting.
different.
Yeah.
It's so different, and I thought it was like, oh, I think I said it was like the movie's too good for it to be nominated for Oscars. I was like, this shit's gonna get shut out, but it didn't.
Yeah,
So,
I need to.
Yeah, I'd like to
still.
rewatch it as well. I mean, we definitely when we talk about with presence with like, camera operator stuff like that's all the POV stuff in that is really fascinating. I'd like to rewatch it and kind of get stronger feelings about it.
performance by an actor in a leading role. Adrian Brody, The Brutalist, Timothy Chalamet, A Complete Unknown, Coleman Domingo, Sing Sing, Ray Fiennes, Conclave, and Sebastian Stan, The Apprentice.
Happy Domingo got in there.
Yeah.
Stan's interesting because I mean I've seen a lot of conversation about people were like, why was this not a different man? It's kind of the wrong Sebastian Stan performance, as some people are saying, which is interesting. I haven't seen either film though.
Yeah,
Different
no,
Man is great.
I've seen both. I really like both. He's better in A Different Man. Great in both though. Like so, very
Yeah.
cool nominee. I like A Different Man more as a movie though, and I would have preferred to see both him get the lead actor nomination for that and the supporting actor for that, Adam Pearson, get it over
Yeah.
Jeremy Strong.
I love Adam.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Who's the front runner today?
Brody
Best actor?
Brody barely.
Brody. I will say though, after Timothy's SNL thing last night, he made a whole bit about how he keeps losing awards, and I'm like, dude,
No, yeah, he's really pushing like that. This is the one, and like I was thinking that as well. Like when he was that whole like I keep writing these.
This is the one. It's like
No, I know. It's like, oh man,
it's impossible.
gonna-
Like this might be like the most Oscar-y performance he does in his entire career in terms of like.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
true. It'd be nice to see a great movie star like him win an Oscar for something that's actually artistic to a certain degree. Who knows, dude? He might knock it out of the park in Marty Supreme. Like, who
Yeah.
knows? Like,
Well,
yeah,
I
just like Adam
kind of
Sandler
wish
did.
I would wish that he would win the Oscar now, and then he would like not worry about that ever again.
No, yeah,
Because I feel like
exactly.
he wants it so bad that I'm like, please
Because
just
this is
give
the
it to
one-
him
Yeah.
so he's not doesn't care about it anymore. Like
Exactly.
Jesus. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's so much. I mean, we talked about it plenty of times, but there's so much riding on him being like the youngest winner, and like that's like such a interesting kind of thing that they're pushing out. And it's also like he's the movie star. He is the movie star right now. Like no one is fucking doing it like him. So I think it's beneficial for the industry if
He's
he would
swagged
win
out.
here. I think
He
it
keeps
is
showing up to
beneficial.
places dressed up like Blade.
Yeah, he's so
I-
swagged out. It's also like really interesting. It almost seems like the universe is aligning some interesting thing where what are the odds that decades later Brody is finally up for another Oscar and he is still holds the record as like the youngest
No,
lead
I
actor
mean it's
nominee,
so
and then Timmy, it's like
it's
it's
too
like
perfect that I'm like
all
it has
right
to happen,
guys,
right? Like
come
he
on.
has to win.
Come on.
Uh,
I mean, we'll see. I think
man, it's like
Brody still
It's like
low-key
Ray
got that in the
Fiennes.
bag though. But AI
I don't know,
generated
AI boy.
performance. So.
Like I don't know.
Yeah,
fucking,
AI boy.
It would be
We'll
funny if
see.
Ray Fiennes came out from the fucking rafters and won.
Yeah, it's
I
like,
mean, he has
Oh,
the
that would be
opportunity because so many
sick.
people might split their votes between the two front runners.
Yeah.
is has he won an Oscar before?
No.
No, he's been nominated
So
two
this-
other times.
that's what I'm saying.
but-
Like
Don't
that
think
could be
he needs
seen.
it for this movie.
That could be a classic legacy win where
Yeah.
it's like, you're great, you've been great so long, we're gonna give it to you because you're old.
yeah.
And then Timothy Chalamet is gonna cry.
Performance by an actor in a supporting role: Yora Borisov, Honora; Kieran Culkin, A Real Pain; Edward Norton, A Complete Unknown; Guy Pearce, The Brutalist; and Jeremy Strong, The Apprentice.
It's a silly
I
group of
have to
guys.
say for
They
this
already
is
engraved
it's
Kieran Culkin's name on
genuinely
this.
it's genuinely disappointing that Kieran Culkin has been a front runner at all this year, period, in my personal opinion. I think he is great, and I love Kieran Culkin.
Mhm.
But he is playing Kieran Culkin, suicidal and depressed. He's not doing any transformative shit in his acting. Roman Roy was the greatest thing that could have ever been handed to him as an actor because it's so him already. He is not doing award-worthy work in that movie, nor is Jesse Eisenberg. Guy Pearce or
Guy
Yura
Pearce
should win by a landslide. It's not even funny.
Interesting that you said
And
Yura.
it's just sad to me that Kieran will probably get an Oscar, okay?
Definitely.
And I
He's
just
definitely
don't fuck
winning.
with the fact that he's gonna probably get up on that stage, be grateful, whatever. I don't want to see Kieran Culkin have his I don't give a fuck energy winning an Academy Award. Like, go fuck yourself, dude. Like, are you kidding me? You just won an Oscar. But so that's gonna be a little frustrating. Guy Pearce.
Yeah, Guy Pearce.
It feels like a weak group to me. It does.
This
Well,
is
it
weak.
is.
I don't think Edward Norton's special. I don't think
Well,
Yura
here's
is
what's funny.
special. I don't. Jeremy Strong is
After-
special. Kieran Culkin is Kieran Culkin. Guy Pearce is great. Weak category though.
Yeah, it feels
After
weak to me.
I haven't seen The Apprentice, right? But out of these nominees, after Guy Pearce, Edward Norton, I think, is my favorite performance out of.
Well,
out
he's
of-
at least he's acting. It's
That's
like
a
Yeah.
toast
Yeah.
performance. Though. It's a nothing burger performance.
I like. He's so cute. He's like fucking Mr.
Yeah,
Rogers.
he's like
I
Mr.
don't-
Rogers.
It's just crazy that Kieran
I like
Culkin's
the
gonna get an
Euro
Oscar
nomination.
for a movie he wanted to leave and didn't even want to be in, and then he's gotten kind of handed this Oscar, and he's
Yeah,
gotten
I don't
handed,
like
he
that.
handed his Golden Globes too. And
I've
Emmys.
never seen him in anything, but I don't like him. So
You don't like his vibe?
yeah, no, I'm not a fan of the vibe that he gives me.
I liked his vibe until he just kept winning awards and acting like it was nothing to him, and I'm
Well,
like,
he
all
literally,
right.
he like,
Fuck
it's like
you.
it felt like he broke a record for how many awards he won for the last season of Succession. It was crazy. He won every
Yeah.
possible acting award you can get for a TV show.
He was
Yeah.
fantastic in that last season of
Yeah,
Succession.
yeah.
That's the thing. But it's like in this, it's like, bro, what? What? Like, it's also
The movie is
there's too
kinda
many of these this year when it comes to acting categories. There are too many co-leading films this year, and they put them into this box. Kieran Culkin is the first shot and last shot of A Real Pain. He is the lead of that movie by a landslide. Like him and
I
Jesse
agree.
Eisenberg
I know that Jesse,
share.
or Tyler disagrees, but
No, when I rewatched, they're co-lead. I thought, well, for people to say Jesse Eisenberg's like supporting though is wrong. Like they're co-leads, and
No, they're
Jesse Eisenberg's the movie falls apart without Eisenberg. So like they're very clearly co-leads. But yeah, that's just the Oscars now. It's like you can't. It's been that way for decades. It's not going to change anytime soon. It's never been different. Zoe Saldana is the lead of Amelia Perez.
Literally,
she literally is more
That's-
way more category fraud than Kieran Culkin.
Well, yeah, because Zoe Saldana has like the combined screen time of the other two actresses in the movie.
Yeah,
It's crazy. Speaking of which, performance by an actress in a leading role: Cynthia Erivo, Wicked; Carla Sofia Garcon, or Gascon.
Yeah,
How do you say
got
her last name?
use Reese.
Okay.
Witherspoon.
It's like Gascon.
yeah, you gotta add that in post.
Amelia Perez, Mikey Madison, Honora; Demi Moore, The Substance; and Fernanda Torres, I'm Still Here. Have any of us seen I'm Still Here?
It's not playing
I'm
anymore.
happy for the people of Brazil.
No, I need to watch it.
What a dark
it's
horse! How much is
playing
Brazil
near me.
paying? How is it a Best Picture nominee?
Uh,
Haven't heard a
The
single
people of-
soul talk about it. Not a person.
The people of Brazil are crazy. The Brazil. No, I'm not even joking. Like Brazil solidarity is insane. They're like a united front.
come to Brazil, dude. Everyone's got
like, come to Brazil.
Yeah, everyone's got. Brazil has got huge leeway, and it's the highest rated Best Picture nominee,
Yeah,
at least in terms of Letterboxd.
it's not
um,
actually. It's Dune Part 2.
Lied on the podcast. So.
What? No, it's fine. Whatever. But close enough. But they're probably gonna give it to Demi Moore because she's old and has only done popcorn movies her entire life. And now
Well, I thought it
she's
was that speech.
giving
I
a
didn't say
pretty
anything
okay.
online.
Yeah, no, talk your shit.
No, sorry. No, I didn't say anything online about that speech. I think it was a good speech, but like, The Substance is a popcorn movie. That was where I was like, that's crazy.
Wait, did she
Honora's
say
a
that?
slapstick comedy.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
I'm like,
Did Mikey Madison? No, Mike. Did what's her
Demi
name? Say
Moore.
that she's only been doing popcorn movies.
No. The a producer told her that. A producer
Oh.
told her that she could only do popcorn movies, and she'll
Oh.
never. She's not. And it's not awards movies. And I'm like, The Substance is a popcorn movie. Like,
Yeah,
It's a
no,
popcorn
that's silly.
movie. She's giving a good performance, but
Great
also,
performance.
she is asleep for a good amount of the movie, and and again, I think she's awesome. If I haven't seen I'm Still Here. Mikey Madison to
Yeah,
me,
you're very attracted to Mikey Madison.
no.
I think it'll be very bad.
That may be a true statement, but I think that truly she does an incredible job for a 25-year-old to carry a movie
She's so young.
like
That's crazy.
that fun on her back. Like it's really like, and I think Mark Edelstein does give a very good performance towards the end when things get a little bit more serious, and he does a good job conveying, when things start not being funny anymore and it's just sad. But I think she personally is like the leading lady in this category. I think she really is. She's actually leading a movie. She is not co-leading with Ariana Grande or co-leading with Selena Gomez and Zoe Saldana. She's not co-leading with Margaret Qualley. Okay, she's leading a damn movie.
It's true.
I think it'll ruin her career though, so I kind of don't want her to win. Demi Moore's. I've loved listening to the pod and hearing Doug so confidently say Demi Moore's got the Oscar in the bag, which I do think she does. And Kevin gets so mad every time, and it's so funny. And you called it way back. You called it back when Mikey Madison was a lock, but right now Demi Moore's the betting favorite. So like you were on the
I
train
told it
early.
before she won the Golden Globe.
Right.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Sometimes. Hey, I know stuff sometimes.
It's just so funny every time you get so mad. It's a good bit of the pod. It's a good recurring bit.
Performance by an actress in a supporting role: Monica Barbaro, A Complete Unknown; Ariana Grande, Wicked; Felicity Jones, The Brutalist; Isabella Rossellini, Conclave; and Zoe Saldana, Emilia Perez.
Horrible.
We all know who's winning that one.
This is rough. This is a rough. This is a rough
One
category.
maybe worthy nominee here. Two maybe.
I hope Isabella Rossellini wins, bro. Fuck it. Burn the shit
Me
down,
too.
dude.
Me too.
I mean, it's gonna be Zoe Saldana, which is gonna be annoying. It's the same thing as your opinion on like Kieran Culkin. I think it's gonna be the same thing where she's gonna like when she won the Golden Globe, even though she was like the lockiest of locks, she like looked like her parents were slaughtered in front of her. Like she broke apart. Like she do the same thing about Oscars, man. I love Zoe Saldana, and she deserves it for other movies, but this is it's gonna be ridiculous. And it's like one of
She should have got it for Avatar
Joy
3.
Randolph from last year. It's like the Oscar's already engraved with your name, but she's gonna act like her kid was taken from her in front of her face.
Yeah.
Happy for her though. Avatar, you should have got for that.
No, happy for I love Zoe Saldana, but you know,
Love
whatever,
her.
dude. Whatever, bro.
Monica Barbaro, shout out. What a cool nomination that no one really
Yeah.
expected.
Should have been Elle Fanning. Am I crazy for saying that? I feel like most people. Okay. Elle Fanning was the standout in that movie for me.
She's amazing in that movie. I feel bad for Elle Fanning. Everyone got nominated, but Elle Fanning. Like, damn. Be like, all right, well, you know.
Best
It's
animated
because she doesn't.
feature-
It's because she doesn't sing.
Yeah.
That is true. That is why.
It's like she's the one that doesn't sing. So
Yeah, it's fair.
it's like
Best
Sorry.
animated feature film: Blow, Inside Out 2, Memoir of a Snail, Wallace and Gromit: Revenge Most Foul, and The Wild Robot.
Wallace
This
Gromit.
is a cool category.
DreamWorks
Those
got
are
that
cool
double
ones.
bag. My mom worked on Wallace and Gromit back in the day, so I'm gonna root for Wallace and Gromit. Even though it's probably gonna go to Flow, which I think is fantastic because I think it would be awesome to see an independent animated feature dominate and win over The Wild Robot.
Yeah, fuck the
which I've
Wild
heard
Robot.
is
Fuck the
good,
Wild
but I
Robot.
haven't seen it.
Boo! Fuck the Wild Robot.
But you know, I think it's you know, just like every year when these independent films are nominated and sometimes win over, you know, big budget stuff, it's cool to see people who had a real artistry and their true artistic vision come to life in an independent way. You know, take the awards, take the big stuff.
Have any of you guys seen all of these movies? Because I've only seen Memoir of a Snail.
I have, yes.
Okay.
Haven't seen any
What's
of
your
them.
take then, Tyler? What's the good? What's the bad?
Clear worst is Wild Robot. Fourth, I would say Inside Out 2. Third, I would go Wallace and Gromit. Then 2, probably Flow. 1, Memoir of a Snail.
There we go. See, I agree wholeheartedly with that ranking. Absolutely.
Wow,
Thank you so
I was
much.
not expecting Wild Robot to be dead bottom.
I really did. I watched it on a plane and I really did not like it. I don't know, but people love it, so cool for them.
No, people
Yeah, it's
kill
because that
you
Billie
for saying
Eilish
it's bad.
song.
Oh,
Yeah,
I know.
people are
My comments
crazy.
told me.
People are unreasonable about that movie.
No, they're saying it should win Best Picture. It should
It's
win
like
Best Picture.
no, they are saying that. It's like Spider-Verse. It's like this year's Spider-Verse for some reason.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't-
like the
yeah.
kids movie that the kids like.
Achievement in cinematography: The Brutalist, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, Maria, and Nosferatu.
Maria's
Nosferatu's
cool.
an
Brutalist.
annoying ass nominee.
Nosferatu cinematography isn't good. Maria, awesome nomination. Amelia Perez, funny. I don't know. It's so
Yeah,
it's so fun. It's just I hope it wins Best Picture just because crazy. I don't know.
I
Be kind of
really hope
lit
it
to have a
doesn't, bro. I really
cinematographer
hope it
named
doesn't.
Lowell win an Oscar.
Yeah.
I don't know. Also, I mean, you gotta admit, like, shooting on VistaVision is cool as fuck, and he did a really good job, and like, you know, all that stuff, and like,
yeah, I agree that he did really.
I haven't
stuff
seen
out a little
Maria,
bit.
but it seems like from a technical standpoint, bro was bossed up, and you know,
Yeah, well, that's the Quran. I don't think any of his movies have ever won, but like it seems like he's just gonna get every single one of Alfonso Cuarón's movies is gonna get. Wait, that's not who it is. Pablo Larraín. Sorry, Pablo Larraín. Pablo Larraín.
Yeah.
Every one of Pablo Larraín's movies is gonna get nominated for best cinematography. It seems like, but is not gonna win. Nosferatu is a dumb nominee. That's a dumb nominee.
Yeah,
That's
fuck that shit.
That's the kind of nominee that makes me think like what. I don't know. I don't want to. I don't know. It's a good movie. I like that movie, but people are unserious. Achievement in costume design: A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Gladiator 2, Nosferatu, and Wicked.
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 Uh,
Sure. I don't know.
Well, I think it's funny because it's like the Wicked costume design isn't bad, but they shot it in a way that makes it look so awful. Like it's
Exactly.
like if we talk about like the production design of that movie and the costume design, it's like they did their job. It's just like it looks like fucking
Production
shit
design will
because-
earn its Oscar. I think the production.
Yeah,
design
it's like
yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. It's just like
What is
yeah, man.
The fact that
Conclave?
they make everything look ugly in that movie.
It's all of their cardinal, like papal cardinal.
I know, but like
Yeah.
that's like you're not designing. You just went to. You could go to Spirit Halloween and just get cardinal costumes and put them on people. Like it's like
Yeah.
you didn't design
Facts.
anything. It's just you probably just went to Vatican Express or something. I don't know.
Vatican
mean,
Express.
Low-key Dune, I mean, I think Dune's kind of a cool... When I think of the Faye Rotha introduction scene, and you got those, like, almost remind me of, like, Radiohead, Kid A type, like, those, like, skinny... The
Yeah.
guys in the... with you know what I'm talking about? The
Yeah,
horns.
Yeah, yes.
It reminds me of, like, Radiohead visuals. And I think that's kind of badass. And,
It didn't get
you know,
nominated.
they got some cute... Oh, it didn't?
No.
I thought he was talking
I
about
thought you said
snub,
Dune.
but I think that'd be a proper snub.
I thought you said Dune got nominated for
No, it didn't
costume.
get. Gladiator 2 got nominated.
well,
Ah,
glad
Nosferatu's
shit,
costumes are good. So
Yeah, Nosferatu's
yeah.
cool.
Time
but, like,
accurate.
yeah.
Yeah.
Achievement in directing: Anora, Sean Baker, The Brutalist, Brady Corbet, A Complete Unknown, James Mangold, Emilia Perez, Jacques Audiard, The Substance, Coralie Farguet. This is a
It
terrible
would be-
category. I don't know,
it would
to be honest.
Awesome
This
if
is rough.
Corley won.
Yeah, I actually don't think it'd be awesome if she won.
I think it'd be kind of cool. I mean, Brady's
I think
probably
it
got
is
that
like
in
an
the bag.
outright failure if Sean Baker or Brady Corbet lose this. If it goes to anybody else, it's like it would be really
Mangold's
terrible.
very unserious. I would have said the number two before nominees are released. I'd say Edward Berger would be the second choice behind Brady Corbet. So the fact that he's
me
not
too.
here,
I
it's
also
like
thought
it's
that.
Corbet's. Yeah.
Yeah.
Academy hates Edward Berger but loves his movies. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I
Yeah.
thought he was a lock.
I
I thought
hate
Edward Berger was a
both, so.
lock to get nominated
Yeah,
and the
dude.
dark horse to win, but I'm wrong.
Yeah, we can't support that shit. So
Best documentary feature film: Black Box Diaries, No Other Land, Porcelain War, Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat, and Sugarcane. No Other Land is it's very cool that this is getting so many awards and stuff. It's a very cool thing. Have any of us seen any of these movies?
No, but No Other Land, shout out. I've seen
Yeah.
a lot of unwavering support for that movie. Brady specifically saying in an award speech that it's time to distribute No Other Land. And
Yeah.
I really want to see it.
Yeah, no, me and Owen chose specifically not to see this at New York Film Festival because we were like, the subject matter didn't seem really important. We were
whoa.
so we saw some other
Jesus.
stuff.
I did not say these things.
Well, you didn't watch the movie while we were there, so you know what
Yeah, well.
Achievement in film editing: Anora, Sean Baker, The Brutalist, David Jansko, Conclave, Nick Emerson, Emilia Perez, Juliette Wolfling, and Wicked, Myron Kirstein.
Fucking
What the
Myron,
fuck?
man.
What the fuck is going
When
on?
did Honora get nominated? No.
Yes, yeah, Anora.
I think honestly Honora's got some great editing, and
Yeah.
I think Sean Baker, like we were talking earlier, the editor director, and in a filmmaker, and I think the editing in Honora is honestly kind of perfect.
Okay,
But-
you're glazing now. You were like, I think
I'm
Anora's
not
good
glazing,
editing,
bro.
and then you're
I
like,
think it's great.
yeah,
It's
good.
fantastic editing. But I will also say the editing in The Brutalist specifically, it's actually one of my favorite little parts in The Brutalist is when they're at the jazz club and he gets kicked out and he goes into the porno theater.
Mhm.
And just the score over that and the way you hear the projector running in that, and it says Finn, and then you hear the crack of the lighter and everything in that. I think it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, just little moment in a great cut, accompanying the score very well. So either of those two, if anything else wins, it's ridiculous.
No, it should be The Brutalist, and if anything else wins, it's kind of unserious, I think. But yeah. It's a bad category. Best international feature film. I'm Still Here, Brazil. The Girl with a Needle, Denmark. Emilia Perez, France. The Seed of the Sacred Fig, Germany. And Flow, Latvia. The Seed of the Sacred Fig is interesting because that is an Iranian film. But obviously Iran did not select that movie to be represented. It's interesting. Flow's cool.
Kneecap
I don't know.
snubbed.
Agreed.
Kneecap
I think
snubbed.
movies should be banned from being in an international feature film category if they're in another best category. If you want to truly shine more light on international cinema, I'm Still Here and Emilia Perez are Best Picture nominees. So Emilia Perez is winning this award, and then it might win Best Picture. Same thing with like All Quiet on the Western Front, sweeped up the awards and then got this. It's like, I don't know. Like it should give, just if you're trying, like the purpose of the category is to try and shed light on international films that aren't getting recognition. But you have 3 films here nominated for best films in other categories, so like not that diverse. Would have rather seen like
That's a
France
good
get
take.
like The Count of Monte Cristo in here because that movie's incredible, and then
Yeah.
Kneecap for Ireland, and then Red Rooms for Canada. I don't know, just get more stuff in here. Chime
No.
for
Japan.
Kurosawa, yeah.
Yeah.
I will say,
Yeah.
Girl with the Needle, though, getting in there is badass as fuck. Super cool. That movie rips and is kind of on the horror side of filmmaking in a lot of ways, and it's kind of really cool that, along with The Substance getting recognition this year, being a body horror film and kind of something the Academy would turn a cold shoulder to, it's kind of really cool that The Girl with the Needle snuck in there because it's a badass movie. It's got some of the best cinematography I've seen in years. Boom.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. But original score, The Brutalist, Daniel Bloomberg, Conclave, Volker Bertelmann, Emilia Perez, Clemence Ducal,
Bertelmann is
and
good.
Camille. Wicked, John Powell and Steven Schwartz, and The Wild Robot, Chris Bowers. This is like the worst slate.
Daniel
all the
Bloomberg,
whole
easy
Oscars.
lock. He gets 5 big booms. The Brutalist score gets 5,
Five big blooms.
I'll go a step
Blooms.
further. Daniel, that's the only good score here. All these other scores aren't even good, bro. This is ridiculous.
Facts.
This is ridiculous.
Well, there's 2 parts to
Um,
score. It's like the actual score and how it's used in the film. And Conclave and The Wild
Yes.
Robot both are aggressively used in the film to the point where it's overbearing.
my
Wicked,
thing with
I still don't
Conclave, too.
understand I think I don't know what original score means. The fact that Wicked's here.
It's,
And then-
it's based off of pre-existing music. It doesn't make any sense.
Anyways,
Yeah.
this should be
No,
a
yeah,
brutalist lock. Yeah, not even close.
Yeah.
Which I think it is,
Easy
to be
money.
fair, but yeah.
It's gonna Wild Robot.
That would be crazy.
That's who Owen's rooting for.
Gonna get my Wild Robot T-shirt on and sit down and watch the Oscars. And
Achievement in production design: The Brutalist, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Nosferatu, and Wicked. Any of these are fine.
I think it's a
these
perfect
are all-
category. Perfect nominees.
Yeah,
These are all
fine.
good.
Yeah. Who's gonna?
Wicked.
It's probably gonna be Wicked, right?
Yeah, I think so.
If you had to- yeah.
Probably.
Which
I don't know.
I think it deserves. So
yeah, those guys worked hard for their
Yeah,
work.
yeah,
to be
that's- they
fucking
worked hard, yeah,
Screwed
for
over.
sure.
I mean, they get the Oscar at least.
I'd be so pissed. Imagine hand painting all those damn yellow bricks.
Yeah, and it's like out of focus, like gray sludge. It's like what the fuck.
And then Judy
Um,
Becker wins for The Brutalist, and they scream AI from the very back of the auditorium.
Achievement in sound: A Complete Unknown, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, Wicked, and The Wild Robot. What
Honestly,
is-
a complete unknown seems like.
I don't think musicals should be allowed
Yeah,
to be
what does that
nominated in
mean?
this
Like, is
category.
the sound is like that, like Timothy Chalamet's voice? It's
No,
like,
it's like sound editing and
I
sound
mean, it is
design.
live, right?
yeah,
Like,
it was live. They filmed. They sang live.
Yeah.
I
I
guess,
guess
there's
that's
thing
a
for
good
Wicked.
achievement then.
They achieved something.
They achieved
music.
good sound.
Movies about music just shouldn't even. It's like they should.
Yeah,
they
they
get
shouldn't
their
even
own
be made.
categories. Yeah. Achievement in visual effects: Alien Romulus, Better Man,
Woo!
Dune Part 2, Kingdom of the Planets of the Apes and Wicked.
Monkey versus monkey, better
Could
man.
be Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
No,
It
three.
should
There's
be
three
Kingdom of the
monkeys.
Planet of the Apes.
Wicked has monkeys too.
Oh
Yeah.
shit.
Oh, true, they have flying monkeys. It should be Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and I don't think it should even be.
It's gonna be like
close, to
Dune.
be
It's
honest.
That movie
Have some
does
sort of-
look fantastic. Yeah, but
It can't.
I
It's
just
not
want- I just
Better
want
Man.
Robbie
It
Williams
can't be
to
Better
get
Man.
in
It cannot be Better Man. That's
Well-
ridiculous. They got one monkey. There's only one of them.
It's the same, bro, the same team that does the monkeys in King and Planet of the Apes did the one monkey in Better Man. So it's just
Yeah.
like the
so
monkey
it's a
in
win.
Better.
It's a win-win.
No, because it's like the monkey in Better Man, but there's a lot of them in the other movie.
Hey,
Yeah,
I
I mean,
won't
like-
spoil.
It's
There's not
it's a
just
tie.
one monkey in Better Man.
Oh shit.
Okay, well,
Oh,
they
fuck.
also like they
Facts,
built
I
like this
forgot
entire
about that.
world in Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is like building shit. That's like Avatar.
No,
but
it literally
it's just
is like Avatar. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is like an Avatar level like special effects achievement.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's notable. I talked about this a
Avatar
little
Fire
bit
and Ash next year.
somewhere else, where Alien Romulus, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and Better Man are all Weta Productions, who does like those are the guys that do Avatar and stuff too.
Yeah.
It's interesting how they have like.
What if
a
Romulus
fucking-
won and they just showed fucking
So cold.
the
Yeah, Ian
dead
Holm.
guy up there?
No, they show like like a photograph of Ian Holm. Like,
Yeah,
an actual,
just-
like
They're like, rest in peace, Ian Holm.
rest in peace, Ian Holm. And then our last two categories here: writing, adapted screenplay, A Complete Unknown, screenplay by James Mangold and Jay Cox, Conclave, screenplay by Peter Strahan, Emilia Perez, screenplay by Jacques Audiard, in collaboration with Thomas Beidgain, Leah
Just-
Misius.
Don't worry, we'll
and
fix it in
There's
post.
too many
Nicholas-
names, Doug.
We're
There's too many
We're
names.
gonna fix it in post.
Too
don't
many people wrote Amelia Perez.
Nickel
Yeah.
Boys, screenplay by Ramel Ross and Jocelyn Barnes, and Sing Sing. Oh, well, Jesus. I guess I'm committed to saying all the names, but Sing Sing, screenplay by Clint Bentley, Greg Quaidar, story by Clint Bentley, Greg Quaidar, Clarence Macklin, John Divine G. Whitfield. It's I don't care. I don't know. It should be Nickel Boys, I guess. I don't
That would
know.
be cool. I think Nickel Boys or Sing Sing would be cool just because those guys are shut out for most of the other awards.
Amelia Perez is probably the favorite, though, right? I don't
I
know.
wish Justin Kritzky was here for Queer.
I wish-
Same here.
I wish Justin Kritzky's was here for Queer. I agree.
Glad we all
Yeah, I
co-sign
agree.
on that.
you?
I also wish he was
Shout
here in
out
the next
Queer.
category.
Yeah, queer
Yeah.
should be here a lot.
Yeah.
Queer should be here a lot. There should be
Justin
more
Kritzky's
queers in general.
Is awesome.
I posted a TikTok
Yeah,
saying Daniel
facts.
Craig had a 60% chance of being nominated. I was way more confident than I should have been.
He should have won.
60 is crazy.
He should have won.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, it's Daniel Craig is both me and Owen's favorite performance this year.
Yep,
we
same
did
here.
a
He
whole
should have.
pod.
He
Yeah.
should have
It's a
won.
banger.
He should have won. It's ridiculous. I don't know. It's
No, the Oscars are fake, bro. It's fucking fake.
yeah. It's
The fact that there wasn't a strong campaign team behind queer or challengers is so dumb. People are so dumb.
Mhm.
Writing, original screenplay. Honora, written by Sean Baker. The Brutalist, written by Brady Corbet and Mona Fastold. Or Fastold, sorry. A Real Pain, written by Jesse Eisenberg. September 5, written by Mortiz Binder, Tim Fellbaum, co-written by Alex David.
did anyone see September 5? Tyler, you see
Yes,
that one?
and that's what I was getting. Well, the other nominee was The Substance, Corley Farge. I'll help you out there.
Yeah.
But what I don't like how I don't understand original score. I guess I don't understand original screenplay because September 5 happened. What's original about this? How is this an original screenplay? This is an event that happened
That's
in real
so
life.
funny. Yeah, it is based off of real events, right?
Yeah.
September
So
5.
just because no one wrote a book about it,
Well,
that they
it's like-
adapted into a movie, like I don't get it.
Yeah, it's not even just adapted by. It's like it's adapted from like news articles and stuff.
Yeah. So
Like yeah,
Bullshit.
that's very silly.
it just doesn't make sense. But whatever. It's just these categories will never make sense to me. But whatever. I guess Honora and the Brutalist are cool. The rest don't really deserve to be here.
I low-key feel like Honora
challengers.
could get that shit easy money.
They're gonna.
If
The
Honora's
thing
gonna
is, they
win
have to
anything,
hand
it'll be
something
this.
to Honora. I don't see Honora going home with nothing. I just there's
If
no
Honora
way.
wins anything, it's this for sure.
That would kill me if they went home with nothing. But I feel like if they're gonna win anything, it's gonna be editing or it's gonna be this.
The thing is with how the Oscars have typically worked, though, is like writing is such a strong predictor for what's winning Best Picture that I feel like, I mean, 9 times out of 10, whoever wins Best Writing wins the Best Picture. So it's like, if Honora took it over Brutalist, that would be interesting. But I don't know. I hope Honora gets something. I'm not nearly as high on Honora, I think, as any of you three, but I still think it deserves something.
That movie's good. That's my take.
I think it's
Honora.
good too.
My favorite. It was my favorite movie from last year. So
Yeah,
I'm ride or die in it.
Yeah, you're a little
Okay.
crazy, man. I don't know.
yeah, I think you're. It's the worst.
If there's like an
movie.
ensemble award, I would love like Honora to win that one because I think everyone in that movie deserves it.
SAG.
Yura and yeah, exactly, SAG, but
Whoa,
not Oscars getting any of that, which most people will care about
quit
most.
throwing that around.
Is that the last one?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for.
Doug hates short films confirmed.
Yeah, fuck.
I
I
also
short
skipped
film.
original song. I skipped hella stuff.
Yeah.
It was fun. I was following along with you as well. I'm like, oh, I guess he's skipping that one. Just keep scrolling through my page.
No, thank you guys so much for coming on and chit chatting in Kevin's absence. It was a joy to speak to both of you. I haven't talked to Tyler. I haven't talked to you in a long time. It was nice seeing you. What are we talking about next
Yeah,
week?
fuck Jesse, I guess.
I talked
Yeah,
to
me and
Jesse
Doug were
last
talking
night, bro.
about
I talked to
11
you
hours
last
ago.
night. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the last thing Owen texted me before we did this was, yeah, I'm just confirming with Doug that it's at 1, and then I was like, so is it at 1?
And then Jesse hopped on a call with me and was like, "What's going on?" And I
Doug
had
doesn't
to tell
respond.
Jesse
to
that
me.
Tyler Whitmore was going to be here.
I was like,
Well,
what?
I was like, I was putting things together really last minute.
Yeah. Next week on the Looks Like a Movie podcast, they'll be reviewing Drew Hancock's Companion.
Fuck, we are not doing that.
No, we're not.
No, we're not.
That's really all that's coming out this week, though. So that's your kind of
Yeah.
So I might take a trip to Texas. Like
We're
Kevin
talking about
did.
something else. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Anti-Sophie
we're
Thatcher
not
pod.
talking about Companion, bro.
No, very
Yo,
pro.
whoa, chill on Sophie
I'm
Thatcher.
so pro
Yo.
Sophie Thatcher that I will not watch that movie because
Sophie Thatcher.
I will not support her
I'll
bad
hold my
decisions.
We
tongue.
love Sophie Thatcher.
One of the yes, we love Sophie Thatcher.
Yeah. Well, I watched Heretic and that was enough. All right, man. I can't keep doing this. I
I
can't.
watched The Boogeyman as well.
I like the Boogeyman.
She's good in The Boogeyman.
She's great in the Boogeyman.
Okay,
Love the
bye.
Boogeyman. Love the Boogeyman.
We're gonna try
Run it
again.
back, Turbo.
Welcome everybody to episode 102 of the Looks Like an.
Are we gonna have bloopers for this one?
Well,
Just